She gives a nervous glance at her empty wash tub. You closed down too?
Not officially, but everyone's afraid to use me now.
Maybe it's the snow.
No, Rory made a quick round this morning. Nothing to wash, apparently.
Rory wraps his arms around Hazel.
We'll be all right.
I take a handful of money from my pocket and lay it on the table. My mother will send something for Posy. When we're outside, I turn to Peeta. You go on back. I want to walk by the hob.
I'll go with you.
No, I've dragged you into enough trouble.
And avoiding a stroll by the hob. That's going to fix things for me?
He smiles and takes my hand. Together we wind through the streets of the seam until we reach the burning building. They haven't even bothered to leave peacekeepers around it. They know no one would try to save it. The heat from the flames melts the surrounding snow and a black trickle runs across my shoes. It's all that coal dust from the old days. It was in every crack and crevice, ground into the floorboards. It's amazing the place didn't go up before. I want to check on Greasy Say.
Not today, Katniss. I don't think we'd be helping anyone by dropping in on them.
We go back to the square. I buy some cakes from Peeta's father while they exchange small talk about the weather. No one mentions the ugly tools of torture just yards from the front door. The last thing I notice as we leave the square is that I do not recognize even one of the peacekeepers' faces. As the days pass, things go from bad to worse. The mines stay shut for 2 weeks, and by that time half of District 12 is starving. The number of kids signing up for Tesserae soars, but they often don't receive their grain. Food shortages begin, and even those with money come away from stores empty-handed. When the mines reopen, wages are cut, hours extended, miners sent into blatantly dangerous work sites. The eagerly awaited food promised for parcel day arrives spoiled and defiled by rodents. The installations in the square see plenty of action as people are dragged in and punished for offenses so long overlooked we've forgotten they are illegal. But I can't help thinking that everything he sees will only strengthen his resolve to fight back. The hardships in the mines, the tortured bodies in the square, the hunger on the faces of his family. Rory has signed up for Tesserae, something Gale can't even speak about, but it's still not enough with the inconsistent availability and the ever-increasing price of food. The only bright spot is, I get Haymitch to hire Hazel as a housekeeper, resulting in some extra money for her and greatly increasing Haymitch's standard of living. It's weird going into his house, finding it fresh and clean food warming on the stove. He hardly notices because he's fighting a whole different battle. Peeta and I tried to ration what white liquor we had, but it's almost run out, and the last time I saw Ripper, she was in the stocks. I feel like a pariah when I walk through the streets. Everyone avoids me in public now, but there's no shortage of company at home. A steady supply of ill and injured is deposited in our kitchen before my mother, who has long since stopped charging for her services. Her stocks of remedies are running so low, though, that soon all she'll have to treat the patients with is snow. The woods, of course, are forbidden. Absolutely. No question. Even Gale doesn't challenge this now. But one morning, I do. And it isn't the house full of the sick and dying, the bleeding backs, the gaunt-faced children, the marching boots, or the omnipresent misery that drives me under the fence. It's the arrival of a crate of wedding dresses one night, with a note from Effie saying that President Snow approved these himself. The wedding. Is he really planning to go through with it? What in his twisted brain will that achieve? Is it for the benefit of those in the capital? A wedding was promised. A wedding will be given. And then he'll kill us? As a lesson to the districts? I don't know. I can't make sense of it. I toss and turn in bed until I can't stand it anymore. I have to get out of here. At least for a few hours. My hands dig around in my closet until I find the insulated winter gear Cinna made for me for recreational use on the Victory Tour. Waterproof boots, a snowsuit that covers me from head to toe, thermal gloves. I love my old hunting stuff, but the trek I have in mind today is more suited to this high-tech clothing. I tiptoe downstairs, load my game bag with food, and sneak out of the house. Slinking along side streets and back alleys, I make my way to the weak spot in the fence closest to Ruba the butcher's. Since many workers cross this way to get to the mines, the snow's pockmarked with footprints. Mine will not be noticed. With all his security upgrades, Thread has paid little attention to the fence, perhaps feeling harsh weather and wild animals are enough to keep everyone safely inside. Even so, once I'm under the chain link, I cover my tracks until the trees conceal them for me. Dawn is just breaking as I retrieve a set of bow and arrows and begin to force a path through the drifted snow in the woods. I'm determined, for some reason, to get to the lake. Maybe to say goodbye to the place, to my father, and the happy times we spent there, because I know I'll probably never return. Maybe just so I can draw a complete breath again. Part of me doesn't really care if they catch me if I can see it one more time. The trip takes twice as long as usual. Cinna's clothes hold in the heat all right, and I arrive soaked with sweat under the snowsuit while my face is numb with cold. The glare of the winter sun off the snow has played games with my vision, and I am so exhausted and wrapped up in my own hopeless thoughts that I don't notice the signs. The thin stream of smoke from the chimney, the indentations of recent footprints, the smell of steaming pine needles. I am literally a few yards from the door of the cement house when I pull up short. And that's not because of the smoke or the prints or the smell. That's because of the unmistakable click of a weapon behind me. Second nature. Instinct. I turn, drawing back the arrow, although I know already that the odds are not in my favor. I see the white peacekeeper uniform, the pointed chin, the light brown iris where my arrow will find a home. But the weapon is dropping to the ground, and the unarmed woman is holding something out to me in her gloved hand.
Stop.
I waver, unable to process this turn in events. Perhaps they have orders to bring me in alive so they can torture me into incriminating every person I ever knew. Yeah, good luck with that. My fingers have all but decided to release the arrow when I see the object in the glove. It's a small white circle of flat bread, more of a cracker, really. Gray and soggy around the edges. But an image is clearly stamped in the center of it. It's my mockingjay. It makes no sense. My bird baked into bread. Unlike the stylish renderings I saw in the Capitol, this is definitely not a fashion statement. What is it? What does that mean? Still prepared to kill.
It means we're on your side.
I didn't see her when I came up. She must have been in the house. I don't take my eyes off my current target. Probably the newcomer is armed, but I'm betting she won't risk letting me hear the click that would mean my death was imminent, knowing I would instantly kill her companion. Come around where I can see you.
She can't. She's...
Come around. There's a step and a dragging sound. I can hear the effort the movement requires. Another woman, or maybe I should call her a girl since she looks about my age, limps into view. She's dressed in an ill-fitting peacekeeper's uniform complete with the white fur cloak, but it's several sizes too large for her slight frame. She carries no visible weapon. Her hands are occupied with steadying a rough crutch made from a broken branch. The toe of her right boot can't clear the snow, hence the dragging. I examine the girl's face, which is bright red from the cold. Her teeth are crooked and there's a strawberry birthmark over one of her chocolate brown eyes. This is no peacekeeper, no citizen of the capital either. Who are you?
My name's Twill, and this is Bonnie. We've run away from District 8.
District 8. Then they must know about the uprising. Where'd you get the uniforms?
I stole them from the factory. We make them there. Only I thought this one would be for someone else. That's why it fits so poorly. The gun came from a dead peacekeeper.
That cracker in your hand. With the bird. What's that about?
Don't you know, Katniss?
They recognize me. Of course they recognize me. My face is uncovered and I'm standing here outside of District 12 pointing an arrow at them. Who else would I be? I know it matches the pin I wore in the arena.
She doesn't know. Maybe not about any of it.
Suddenly, I feel the need to appear on top of things. I know you had an uprising in 8.
Yes. That's why we had to get out.
Well, you're good and out now. What are you going to do?
We're headed for District 13.
13. There's no 13. It got blown off the map.
75 years ago.
Bonnie shifts on her crutch and winces. What's wrong with your leg?
I twisted my ankle. My boots are too big.
I bite my lip. My instinct tells me they're telling the truth. And behind that truth is a whole lot of information I'd like to get. I step forward and retrieve Twill's gun before lowering my bow, though. Then I hesitate a moment, thinking of another day in this woods when Gale and I watched a hovercraft appear out of thin air and capture 2 escapees from the Capitol. The boy was speared and killed. The red-headed girl, I found out when I went to the Capitol, was mutilated and turned into a mute servant called an Avox. Anyone after you?
We don't think so. We think they believe we were killed in a factory explosion. Only a fluke that we weren't.
All right. Let's go inside. I follow them in, carrying the gun. Bonnie makes straight for the hearth and lowers herself onto a peacekeeper's cloak that has been spread before it. She holds her hands to the feeble flame that burns on one end of a charred log. Her skin is so pale as to be translucent, and I can see the fire glow through her flesh. Twill tries to arrange the cloak, which must have been her own, around the shivering girl. A 10-gallon pan has been cut in half, the lip ragged and dangerous. It sits in the ashes, filled with a handful of pine needles steaming in water. Making tea?
We're not sure, really. I remember seeing someone do this with pine needles on the Hunger Games a few years back. At least I think it was pine needles.
I remember District 8, an ugly urban place stinking of industrial fumes, the people housed in run-down tenements, barely a blade of grass in sight, no opportunity, ever, to learn the ways of nature. It's a miracle these two have made it this far. Out of food? Bonnie nods.
We took what we could, but food's been so scarce. That's been gone for a while.
The quaver in her voice melts my remaining defenses. She is just a malnourished, injured girl fleeing the capital. Well then, this is your lucky day. I say, dropping my game bag on the floor. People are starving all over the district and we still have more than enough. So I've been spreading things around a little. I have my own priorities. Gail's family, Greasy Sigh, some of the other hob traders who were shut down. My mother has other people, patients mostly, who she wants to help. This morning I purposely overstuffed my game bag with food, knowing my mother would see the depleted pantry and assume I was making my rounds to the hungry. I was actually buying time to go to the lake without her worrying. I intended to deliver the food this evening on my return. But now I can see that won't be happening. From the bag I pull 2 fresh buns with a layer of cheese baked into the top. We always seem to have a supply of these since Peeta found out they were my favorite. I toss one to Twill but cross over and place the other on Bonnie's lap since her hand-eye coordination seems a little questionable at the moment, and I don't want the thing ending up in the fire.
Oh. Oh, is this all for me?
Something inside me twists as I remember another voice. Rue, in the arena, when I gave her the leg of Grusling. Oh, I've never had a whole leg to myself before. The disbelief of the chronically hungry. Yeah, eat up. Bonnie holds the bun as if she can't quite believe it's real and then sinks her teeth into it again and again, unable to stop. It's better if you chew it. She nods, trying to slow down, but I know how hard it is when you're that hollow. I think your tea's done. I scoot the tin can from the ashes. Twill finds 2 tin cups in her pack and I dip out the tea, setting it on the floor to cool. They huddle together, eating, blowing on their tea, and taking tiny, scalding sips as I build up the fire. I wait until they are sucking the grease from their fingers to ask, "So, what's your story?" And they tell me. Ever since the Hunger Games, the discontent in District 8 had been growing. It was always there, of course, to some degree. But what differed was that talk was no longer sufficient, and the idea of taking action went from a wish to a reality. The textile factories that service Panem are loud with machinery, and the din also allowed word to pass safely, a pair of lips close to an ear, words unnoticed, unchecked. Twill taught at school, Bonnie was one of her pupils, and when the final bell had rung, both of them spent a 4-hour shift at the factory that specialized in the peacekeeper uniforms. It took months for Bonnie, who worked in the chili inspection dock, to secure the 2 uniforms, a boot here, a pair of pants there. They were intended for Twill and her husband because it was understood that once the uprising began, it would be crucial to get word of it out beyond District 8 if it were to spread and be successful. The day Peeta and I came through and made our victory tour appearance was actually a rehearsal of sorts. People in the crowd positioned themselves according to their teams next to the buildings they would target when the rebellion broke out. That was the plan, to take over the centers of power in the city like the Justice Building, the Peacekeepers' headquarters, and the Communication Center in the square, and at other locations in the district, the railroad, the granary, the power station, and the armory. The night of my engagement, the night Peeta fell to his knees and proclaimed his undying love for me in front of the cameras in the Capitol, was the night the uprising began. It was an ideal cover. Our victory tour interview with Caesar Flickerman was mandatory viewing. It gave the people of District 8 a reason to be out on the streets after dark, gathering either in the square or in various community centers around the city to watch. Ordinarily, such activity would have been too suspicious. Instead, everyone was in place by the appointed hour, 8 o'clock, when the masks went on and all hell broke loose. Taken by surprise and overwhelmed by sheer numbers, the peacekeepers were initially overcome by the crowds. The communication center, the granary, and the power station were all secured. As the peacekeepers fell, weapons were appropriated for the rebels. There was hope that this had not been an act of madness, that in some way, if they could get the word out to other districts, an actual overthrow of the government in the capital might be possible. But then the axe fell. Peacekeepers began to arrive by the thousands. Hovercraft bombed the rebel strongholds into ashes. In the utter chaos that followed, it was all people could do to make it back to their homes alive. It took less than 48 hours to subdue the city. Then, for a week, there was a lockdown. No food, no coal, everyone forbidden to leave their homes. The only time the television showed anything but static was when the suspected instigators were hanged in the square. Then, one night, as the whole district was on the brink of starvation, came the order to return to business as usual. That meant school for Twill and Bonnie. A street made impassable by the bombs caused them to be late for their factory shift, so they were still 100 yards away when it exploded, killing everyone inside, including Twill's husband and Bonnie's entire family.
Someone must have told the capital that the idea for the uprising had started there.
The two fled back to Twill's, where the peacekeeper suits were still waiting. They scraped together what provisions they could, stealing freely from neighbors they now knew to be dead, and made it to the railroad station. In a warehouse near the tracks, they changed into the peacekeeper outfits and, disguised, were able to make it onto a boxcar full of fabric on a train headed to District 6. They fled the train at a fuel stop along the way and traveled on foot. Concealed by woods, but using the tracks for guidance, they made it to the outskirts of District 12 2 days ago, where they were forced to stop when Bonnie twisted her ankle. I understand why you're running, but what do you expect to find in District 13? Bonnie and Twill exchange a nervous glance.
We're not sure exactly.
It's nothing but rubble. We've all seen the footage.
That's just it. They've been using the same footage for as long as anyone in District 8 can remember.
Really? I try to think back, to call up the images of 13 I've seen on television.
You know how they always show the Justice Building? If you look very carefully, you'll see it. Up in the far right-hand corner.
See what? Till holds out her cracker with the bird again.
A mockingjay? Just a glimpse of it as it flies by. The same one every time. Back home, we think they keep reusing the old footage because the capital can't show what's really there now.
I give a grunt of disbelief. You're going to District 13 based on that? A shot of a bird? You think you're going to find some new city with people strolling around in it, and that's just fine with the capital? No, we think the people moved underground when everything on the surface was destroyed. We think they've managed to survive. And we think the capital leaves them alone because before the dark days, District 13's principal industry was nuclear development. They were graphite miners. But then I hesitate because that's information I got from the capital. They had a few small mines, yes, but not enough to justify a population of that size. That, I guess, is the only thing we know for sure. My heart's beating too quickly. What if they're right? Could it be true? Could there be somewhere to run besides the wilderness? Somewhere safe? If a community exists in District 13, would it be better to go there, where I might be able to accomplish something, instead of waiting here for my death? But then, if there are people in District 13 with powerful weapons, why haven't they helped us? If it's true, why did they leave us to live like this, with the hunger and the killings and the games? And suddenly, I hate this imaginary underground city of District 13 and those who sit by, watching us die. They're no better than the capital. We don't know. Right now, we're just holding on to the hope that they exist. That snaps me to my senses. These are delusions. District 13 doesn't exist because the capital would never let it exist. They're probably mistaken about the footage. Mockingjays are about as rare as rocks and about as tough. If they could survive the initial bombing of 13, they're probably doing better than ever now. Bonnie has no home. Her family is dead. Returning to District 8 or assimilating into another district would be impossible. Of course, the idea of an independent, thriving District 13 draws her. I can't bring myself to tell her she's chasing a dream as insubstantial as a wisp of smoke. Perhaps she and Twill can carve out a life somehow in the woods. I doubt it. but they're so pitiful I have to try to help. First, I give them all the food in my pack, grain and dried beans mostly, but there's enough to hold them for a while if they're careful. Then I take Twill out in the woods and try to explain the basics of hunting. She's got a weapon that, if necessary, can convert solar energy into deadly rays of power, so that could last indefinitely. When she manages to kill her first squirrel, the poor thing is mostly a charred mess because it took a direct hit to the body. But I show her how to skin and clean it. With some practice, she'll figure it out. I cut a new crutch for Bonnie. Back at the house, I peel off an extra layer of socks for the girl, telling her to stuff them in the toes of her boots to walk, then wear them on her feet at night. Finally, I teach them how to build a proper fire. They beg me for details of the situation in District 12, and I tell them about life under thread. I can see they think this is important information that they'll be bringing to those who run District 13, and I play along so as not to destroy their hopes. But when the light signals late afternoon, I'm out of time to humor them. I have to go now. They pour out thanks and embrace me.
I can't believe we actually got to meet you. You're practically all anyone's talked about since.
I know. Since I pulled out those berries, I hardly notice the walk home even though a wet snow begins to fall. My mind is spinning with new information about the uprising in District 8 and the unlikely but tantalizing possibility of District 13. Listening to Bonnie and Twill confirmed one thing. President Snow has been playing me for a fool. All the kisses and endearments in the world couldn't have derailed the momentum building up in District 8. Yes, my holding out the berries had been the spark, but I had no way to control the fire. He must have known that. So why visit my home? Why order me to persuade the crowd of my love for Peeta? It was obviously a ploy to distract me and keep me from doing anything else inflammatory in the districts. And to entertain the people in the capital, of course. I suppose the wedding is just a necessary extension of that. I'm nearing the fence when a mockingjay lights on a branch and trills at me. At the sight of it, I realize I never got a full explanation of the bird on the cracker and what it signifies. It means we're on your side. That's what Bonnie said. I have people on my side? What side? Am I unwittingly the face of the hoped-for rebellion? Has the mockingjay on my pin become a symbol of resistance? If so, my side's not doing too well. You only have to look at what happened in 8 to know that. I stash my weapons in the hollow log nearest my old home in the seam and head for the fence. I'm crouched on one knee, preparing to enter the meadow, but I'm still so preoccupied with the day's events that it takes a sudden screech of an owl to bring me to my senses. In the fading light, the chain links look as innocuous as usual, but what makes me jerk back my hand is the sound, like the buzz of a tree full of tracker-jacker nests, indicating the fence is alive with electricity. My feet back up automatically and I blend into the trees. I cover my mouth with my glove to disperse the white of my breath in the icy air. Adrenaline courses through me, wiping all the concerns of the day from my mind as I focus on the immediate threat before me. What is going on? Has Thread turned on the fence as an additional security precaution? Or does he somehow know I've escaped his net today? Is he determined to strand me outside District 12 until he can apprehend and arrest me, drag me to the square to be locked in the stockade, or whipped or hanged? Calm down. It's not as if this is the first time I've been caught outside of the district by an electrified fence. It's happened a few times over the years, but Gale was always with me. The two of us would just pick a comfortable tree to hang out in until the power shut off, which it always did eventually. If I was running late, Prim even got in the habit of going to the meadow to check if the fence was charged, to spare my mother worry. But today my family would never imagine I'd be in the woods. I've even taken steps to mislead them. So if I don't show up, worry they will. And there's a part of me that's worried too, because I'm not sure it's just a coincidence, the power coming on the very day I returned to the woods. I thought no one saw me sneak under the fence, but who knows? There are always eyes for hire. Someone reported Gale kissing me in that very spot. Still, that was in daylight and before I was more careful about my behavior. Could there be surveillance cameras? I've wondered about this before. Is this the way President Snow knows about the kiss? It was dark when I went under and my face was bundled in a scarf. But the list of suspects likely to be trespassing into the woods is probably very short. My eyes peer through the trees, past the fence, into the meadow. All I can see is the wet snow illuminated here and there by the light from the windows on the edge of the seam. No peacekeepers in sight, no signs I am being hunted. Whether Thread knows I left the district today or not, I realize my course of action must be the same. To get back inside the fence unseen and pretend I never left. Any contact with the chain link or the coils of barbed wire that guard the top would mean instant electrocution. I don't think I can burrow under the fence without risking detection, and the ground's frozen hard anyway. That leaves only one choice. Somehow I'm going to have to go over it. I began to skirt along the tree line, searching for a tree with a branch high and long enough to fit my needs. After about a mile, I come upon an old maple that might do. The trunk is too wide and icy to shinny up though, and there are no low branches. I climb a neighboring tree and leap precariously into the maple, almost losing my hold on the slick bark. But I manage to get a grip and slowly inch my way out on a limb that hangs above the barbed wire. As I look down, I remember why Gale and I always waited in the woods rather than try to tackle the fence. Being high enough to avoid getting fried means you've got to be at least 20 feet in the air. I guess my branch must be 25. That's a dangerously long drop, even for someone who's had years of practice in trees. But what choice do I have? I could look for another branch, but it's almost dark now. The falling snow will obscure any moonlight. Here, at least, I can see I've got a snowbank to cushion my landing. Even if I could find another, which is doubtful, who knows what I'd be jumping into. I throw my empty game bag around my neck and slowly lower myself until I'm hanging by my hands. For a moment, I gather my courage. Then, I release my fingers. There's the sensation of falling, then I hit the ground with a jolt that goes right up my spine. A second later, my rear end slams the ground. I lie in the snow, trying to assess the damage. Without standing, I can tell by the pain in my left heel and my tailbone that I'm injured. The only question is how badly. I'm hoping for bruises, but when I force myself onto my feet, I suspect I've broken something as well. I can walk though, so I get moving, trying to hide my limp as best I can. My mother and Prim can't know I was in the woods. I need to work up some sort of alibi, no matter how thin. Some of the shops in the square are still open, so I go in one and purchase white cloth for bandages. We're running low anyway. In another, I buy a bag of sweets for Prim. I stick one of the candies in my mouth, feeling the peppermint melt on my tongue, and realize it's the first thing I've eaten all day. I meant to make a meal at the lake, but once I saw Twill and Bonnie's condition, it seemed wrong to take a single mouthful from them. By the time I reach my house, my left heel will bear no weight at all. I decide to tell my mother I was trying to mend a leak in the roof of our old house and slid off. As for the missing food, I'll just be vague about who I handed it out to. I drag myself in the door, all ready to collapse in front of the fire. But instead, I get another shock. Two peacekeepers, a man and a woman, are standing in the doorway to our kitchen. The woman remains impassive, but I catch the flicker of surprise on the man's face. I am unanticipated. They know I was in the woods and should be trapped there now. Hello! My mother appears behind them, but keeps her distance.
Here she is, just in time for dinner.
I'm very late for dinner. I consider removing my boots as I normally would, but doubt I can manage it without revealing my injuries. Instead, I just pull off my wet hood and shake the snow from my hair. Can I help you with something?
Head Peacekeeper Thread sent us with a message for you.
They've been waiting for hours.
They've been waiting for me to fail to return, to confirm I got electrocuted by the fence or trapped in the woods so they could take my family in for questioning. Must be an important message.
May we ask where you've been, Miss Everdeen?
Easier to ask where I haven't been. I cross into the kitchen, forcing myself to use my foot normally even though every step is excruciating. I pass between the peacekeepers and make it to the table all right. I fling my bag down and turn to Prim, who's standing stiffly by the hearth. Haymitch and Peeta are there as well, sitting in a pair of matching rockers playing a game of chess. Were they here by chance or invited by the peacekeepers? Either way, I'm glad to see them.
So where haven't you been?
Well, I haven't been talking to the goat man about getting Prim's goat pregnant because someone gave me completely inaccurate information as to where he lives.
No, I didn't. I told you exactly.
You said he lives beside the west entrance to the mine.
The east entrance.
You distinctly said the west because then I said, next to the slag heap, and you said, yeah.
The slag heap next to the east entrance.
No. When did you say that?
Last night?
It was definitely the east.
He looks at Haymitch and they laugh. I glare at Peeta and he tries to look contrite.
I'm sorry, but it's what I've been saying. You don't listen when people talk to you.
Bet people told you he didn't live there today and you didn't listen again.
Shut up, Haymitch. Haymitch and Peeta crack up and Prim allows herself a smile. Fine, somebody else can arrange to get the stupid goat knocked up. Which makes them laugh more, and I think this is why they've made it this far, Haymitch and Peeta. Nothing throws them. I look at the peacekeepers. The man's smiling, but the woman is unconvinced.
What's in the bag?
I know she's hoping for game or wild plants, something that clearly condemns me. I dump the contents on the table. See for yourself.
Oh, good. We're running low on bandages.
Peeta comes to the table and opens the candy bag.
Ooh, peppermints.
He says, popping one in his mouth. They're mine. I take a swipe for the bag. He tosses it to Haymitch, who stuffs a fistful of sweets in his mouth before passing the bag to a giggling Prim. None of you deserves candy.
What, because we're right?
He wraps his arms around me. I give a small yelp of pain as my tailbone objects. I try to turn it into a sound of indignation, but I can see in his eyes that he knows I'm hurt.
Okay, Prim, said West. I distinctly heard West. And we're all idiots. How's that?
Better. And accept his kiss. Then I look at the peacekeepers as if I'm suddenly remembering they're there. You have a message for me?
From head peacekeeper Thread, he wanted you to know that the fence surrounding District 12 will now have electricity 24 hours a day.
Didn't it already?
He thought you might be interested in passing this information on to your cousin.
Thank you, I'll tell him. I'm sure we'll all sleep a little more soundly now that security has addressed that lapse. I'm pushing things, I know it, but the comment gives me a sense of satisfaction. The woman's jaw tightens. None of this has gone as planned, but she has no further orders. She gives me a curt nod and leaves, the man trailing in her wake. When my mother has locked the door behind them, I slump against the table.
What is it?
Holding me steadily. Oh, I banged up my left foot, the heel, and my tailbones had a bad day, too. He helps me over to one of the rockers, and I lower myself onto the padded cushion. My mother eases off my boots.
What happened?
I slipped and fell. 4 pairs of eyes look at me with disbelief. On some ice. But we all know the house must be bugged and it's not safe to talk openly. Not here, not now. Having stripped off my sock, my mother's fingers probe the bones in my left heel and I wince.
There might be a break.
She checks the other foot.
This one seems all right.
She judges my tailbone to be badly bruised. Prime's dispatched to get my pajamas and robe. When I'm changed, my mother makes a snowpack for my left heel and props it up on a hassock. I eat 3 bowls of stew and half a loaf of bread while the others dine at the table. I stare at the fire, thinking of Bonnie and Twill, hoping that the heavy wet snow has erased my tracks. Prime comes and sits on the floor next to me, leaning her head against my knee. We suck on peppermints as I brush her soft blonde hair back behind her ear. How is school?
All right, we learned about coal byproducts.
We stare at the fire for a while.
Are you going to try on your wedding dresses?
Not tonight. Tomorrow, probably.
Wait until I get home, okay?
Sure, if they don't arrest me first. My mother gives me a cup of chamomile tea with a dose of sleep syrup, and my eyelids begin to droop immediately. She wraps my bad foot, and Peeta volunteers to get me to bed. I start out by leaning on his shoulder, but I'm so wobbly, he just scoops me up and carries me upstairs. He tucks me in and says goodnight, but I catch his hand and hold him there. A side effect of the sleep syrup is that it makes people less inhibited, like white liquor, and I know I have to control my tongue, but I don't want him to go. In fact, I want him to climb in with me, to be there when the nightmares hit tonight. For some reason that I can't quite form, I know I'm not allowed to ask that. Don't go yet, not until I fall asleep. Peeta sits on the side of the bed, warming my hand in both of his.
Almost thought you changed your mind today, when you were late for dinner.
I'm foggy, but I can guess what he means. With the fence going on and me showing up late and the peacekeepers waiting, he thought I'd made a run for it, maybe with Gale. No, I'd have told you. I pull his hand up and lean my cheek against the back of it, taking in the faint scent of cinnamon and dill from the breads he must have baked today. I want to tell him about Twill and Bonnie and the uprising and the fantasy of District 13, but it's not safe too, and I can feel myself slipping away, so I just get out one more sentence. Stay with me. As the tendrils of sleep syrup pull me down, I hear him whisper a word back, but I don't quite catch it. Title: Catching Fire, cast by Artale Studio. Please subscribe to our channel if you enjoy listening. Expecting them for another 3 weeks, but I tried to act delighted that my bridal photo shoot is here at last. My mother hung up all the dresses, so they're ready to go, but to be honest, I haven't even tried one on. After the usual histrionics about the deteriorated state of my beauty, they get right down to business. Their biggest concern is my face. Although I think my mother did a pretty remarkable job healing it, there's just a pale pink strip across my cheekbone. The whipping's not common knowledge, so I tell them I slipped on the ice and cut it. And then I realize that's my same excuse for hurting my foot, which is going to make walking in high heels a problem. But Flavius, Octavia, and Venia aren't the suspicious types, so I'm safe there. Since I only have to look hairless for a few hours instead of several weeks, I get to be shaved instead of waxed. I still have to soak in a tub of something, but it isn't vile, and we're on to my hair and makeup before I know it. The team, as usual, is full of news, which I usually do my best to tune out. But then Octavia makes a comment that catches my attention. It's a passing remark, really, about how she couldn't get shrimp for a party, but it tugs at me. Why couldn't you get shrimp? Is it out of season?
Oh, Katniss, we haven't been able to get any seafood for weeks, because the weather's been so bad in District 4.
My mind starts buzzing. No seafood. For weeks. From District 4. The barely concealed rage in the crowd during the victory tour. And suddenly I am absolutely sure that District 4 has revolted. I begin to question them casually about what other hardships this winter has brought them. They are not used to want, so any little disruption in supply makes an impact on them. By the time I'm ready to be dressed, their complaints about the difficulty of getting different products, from crab meat to music chips to ribbons, has given me a sense of which districts might actually be rebelling. Seafood from District 4. Electronic gadgets from District 3. And, of course, fabrics from District 8. The thought of such widespread rebellion has me quivering with fear and excitement. I want to ask them more, but Cinna appears to give me a hug and check my makeup. His attention goes right to the scar on my cheek. Somehow, I don't think he believes the slipping on the ice story, but he doesn't question it. He simply adjusts the powder on my face, and what little you can see of the lash mark vanishes. Downstairs, the living room has been cleared and lit for the photo shoot. Effie's having a fine time ordering everybody around, keeping us all on schedule. It's probably a good thing, because there are 6 gowns and each one requires its own headpiece, shoes, jewelry, hair, makeup, setting, and lighting. Creamy lace and pink roses and ringlets. Ivory satin and gold tattoos and greenery. A sheath of diamonds and jeweled veil and moonlight. Heavy white silk and sleeves that fall from my wrists to the floor and pearls. The moment one shot has been approved, we move right into preparing for the next. I feel like dough, being kneaded and reshaped again and again. My mother manages to feed me bits of food and sips of tea while they work on me, but by the time the shoot is over, I'm starving and exhausted. I'm hoping to spend some time with Cinna now, but Effie whisks everybody out the door and I have to make do with the promise of a phone call. Evening has fallen and my foot hurts from all the crazy shoes, so I abandon any thoughts of going into town. Instead, I go upstairs and wash away the layers of makeup and conditioners and dyes, and then go down to dry my hair by the fire. Prim, who came home from school in time to see the last 2 dresses, chatters on about them with my mother. They both seem overly happy about the photo shoot. When I fall into bed, I realize it's because they think it means I'm safe, that the Capitol has overlooked my interference with the whipping since no one is going to go to such trouble and expense for someone they plan on killing anyway. Right. In my nightmare, I'm dressed in the silk bridal gown, but it's torn and muddy. The long sleeves keep getting caught on thorns and branches as I run through the woods. The pack of mutation tributes draws closer and closer until it overcomes me with hot breath and dripping fangs, and I scream myself awake. It's too close to dawn to bother trying to get back to sleep. Besides, today I really have to get out and talk to someone. Gale will be unreachable in the mines, but I need Haymitch or Peeta or somebody to share the burden of all that has happened to me since I went to the lake. Fleeing outlaws, electrified fences, an independent District 13, shortages in the capital. Everything. I eat breakfast with my mother and Prim and head out in search of a confidant. The air's warm with hopeful hints of spring in it. Spring would be a good time for an uprising, I think. Everyone feels less vulnerable once winter passes. Peeta's not home. I guess he's already gone into town. I'm surprised to see Haymitch moving around his kitchen so early, though. I walk into his house without knocking. I can hear Hazel upstairs, sweeping the floors of the now spotless house. Haymitch isn't flat out drunk, but he doesn't look too steady either. I guess the rumors about Ripper being back in business are true. I'm thinking maybe I better let him just go to bed when he suggests a walk to town. Haymitch and I can speak in a kind of shorthand now. In a few minutes I've updated him and he's told me about rumors of uprisings in Districts 7 and 11 as well. If my hunches are right, this would mean almost half the districts have at least attempted to rebel. Do you still think it won't work here?
Not yet. Those other districts, they're much larger. Even if half the people cower in their homes, the rebels stand a chance. Here in 12, it's got to be all of us or nothing.
I hadn't thought of that, how we lack strength of numbers. But maybe at some point?
Maybe, but we're small, we're weak, and we don't develop nuclear weapons. He didn't get too excited over my District 13 story.
What do you think they'll do, Haymitch? To the districts that are rebelling?
Well, you've heard what they did in 8. You've seen what they did here, and that was without provocation. If things really do get out of hand, I think they'd have no problem killing off another district, same as they did 13. Make an example of it, you know?
So you think 13 was really destroyed? I mean, Bonnie and Twill were right about the footage of the Mockingjay.
Okay, but what does that prove? Nothing, really. There are plenty of reasons they could be using old footage. Probably it looks more impressive, and it's a lot simpler, isn't it? To just press a few buttons in the editing room than to fly all the way out there and film it. The idea that 13 has somehow rebounded and the Capitol is ignoring it. That sounds like the kind of rumor desperate people cling to.
I know. I was just hoping.
Exactly. Because you're desperate.
I don't argue because, of course, he's right. Prim comes home from school bubbling over with excitement. The teachers announced there was mandatory programming tonight.
I think it's going to be your photo shoot.
It can't be, Prim. They only did the pictures yesterday.
Well, that's what somebody heard.
I'm hoping she's wrong. I haven't had time to prepare Gale for any of this. Since the whipping, I only see him when he comes to the house for my mother to check how he's healing. He's often scheduled 7 days a week in the mine. In the few minutes of privacy we've had with me walking him back to town, I gather that the rumblings of an uprising in 12 have been subdued by Thread's crackdown. He knows I'm not going to run, but he must also know that if we don't revolt in 12, I'm destined to be Peeta's bride, seeing me lounging around in gorgeous gowns on his television. What can he do with that? When we gather around the television at 7:30, I discover that Prim is right. Sure enough, there's Caesar Flickerman speaking before a standing room-only crowd in front of the training center, talking to an appreciative crowd about my upcoming nuptials. He introduces Cinna, who became an overnight star with his costumes for me in the games, and after a minute of good-natured chit-chat, we're directed to turn our attention to a giant screen. I see now how they could photograph me yesterday and present the special tonight. Initially, Cinna designed 24 wedding gowns. Since then, there's been the process of narrowing down the designs, creating the dresses, and choosing the accessories. Apparently, in the Capitol, there were opportunities to vote for your favorites at each stage. This is all culminating with shots of me in the final 6 dresses, which I'm sure took no time at all to insert in the show. Each shot is met with a huge reaction from the crowd. People screaming and cheering for their favorites, booing the ones they don't like. Having voted and probably bet on the winner, people are very invested in my wedding gown. It's bizarre to watch when I think how I never even bothered to try one on before the cameras arrived. Caesar announces that interested parties must cast their final vote by noon on the following day.
Let's get Katniss Everdeen to her wedding in style.
I'm about to shut off the television, but then Caesar is telling us to stay tuned for the other big event of the evening.
That's right. This year will be the 75th anniversary of the Hunger Games, and that means it's time for our 3rd Quarter Quell.
What will they do? It isn't for months yet.
We turn to our mother, whose expression is solemn and distant, as if she's remembering something. It must be the reading of the card. The anthem plays, and my throat tightens with revulsion as President Snow takes the stage. He's followed by a young boy dressed in a white suit, holding a simple wooden box. The anthem ends, and President Snow begins to speak, to remind us all of the dark days from which the Hunger Games were born. When the laws for the games were laid out, they dictated that every 25 years the anniversary would be marked by a Quarter Quell. It would call for a glorified version of the games to make fresh the memory of those killed by the district's rebellion. These words could not be more pointed, since I suspect several districts are rebelling right now.
President Snow goes on to tell us what happened in the previous Quarter Quells. On the 25th anniversary, as a reminder to the rebels that their children were dying because of their choice to initiate violence, every district was made to hold an election and vote on the tributes who would represent it.
I wonder how that would have felt. Picking the kids who had to go. It is worse, I think, to be turned over by your own neighbors and have your name drawn from the reaping ball.
On the 50th anniversary, as a reminder that 2 rebels died for each capital citizen, every district was required to send twice as many tributes.
I imagine facing a field of 47 instead of 23. Worse odds, less hope, and ultimately more dead kids. That was the year Haymitch won. I had a friend who went that year. Maisily Donner. Her parents owned the sweet shop. They gave me her songbird after. A canary. Prem and I exchange a look. It's the first we've ever heard of Maisily Donner. Maybe because my mother knew we would want to know how she died.
And now we honor our third Quarter Quell.
The little boy in white steps forward, holding out the box as he opens the lid. We can see the tidy, upright rows of yellowed envelopes. Whoever devised the Quarter Quell system had prepared for centuries of Hunger Games. The president removes an envelope clearly marked with a 75. He runs his finger under the flap and pulls out a small square of paper. Without hesitation, he reads,
On the 75th anniversary, as a reminder to the rebels that even the strongest among them cannot overcome the power of the capital, the male and female tributes will be reaped from their existing pool of victors.
My mother gives a faint shriek and Prim buries her face in her hands, but I feel more like the people I see in the crowd on television. Slightly baffled, what does it mean, existing pool of victors? Then I get it, what it means. At least, for me, District 12 only has 3 existing victors to choose from. 2 male, 1 female. I am going back into the arena. My body reacts before my mind does, and I'm running out the door, across the lawns of the victor's village, into the dark beyond. Moisture from the sodden ground soaks my socks, and I'm aware of the sharp bite of the wind, but I don't stop. Where? Where to go? The woods, of course. I'm at the fence before the hum makes me remember how very trapped I am. I back away, panting, turn on my heel, and take off again. The next thing I know, I'm on my hands and knees in the cellar of one of the empty houses in the victor's village. Faint shafts of moonlight come in through the window wells above my head. I'm cold and wet and winded, but my escape attempt has done nothing to subdue the hysteria rising up inside me. It will drown me unless it's released. I ball up the front of my shirt, stuff it into my mouth, and begin to scream. How long this continues, I don't know. But when I stop, my voice is almost gone. I curl up on my side and stare at the patches of moonlight on the cement floor, back in the arena. Back in the place of nightmares. That's where I am going. I have to admit I didn't see it coming. I saw a multitude of other things. Being publicly humiliated, tortured, and executed. Fleeing through the wilderness, pursued by peacekeepers and hovercraft. Marriage to Peeta with our children forced into the arena. But never that I myself would have to be a player in the games again. Why? Because there's no precedent for it. Victors are out of the reaping for life. That's the deal if you win. Until now. There's some kind of sheeting, the kind they put down when they paint. I pull it over me like a blanket. In the distance, someone is calling my name. But at the moment, I excuse myself from thinking about even those I love most. I think only of me and what lies ahead. The sheeting's stiff but holds warmth. My muscles relax, my heart rate slows. I see the wooden box in the little boy's hands. President Snow drawing out the yellowed envelope. Is it possible that this was really the Quarter Quell written down 75 years ago? It seems unlikely. It's just too perfect an answer for the troubles that face the capital today. Getting rid of me and subduing the districts all in one neat little package. I hear President Snow's voice in my head on the 75th anniversary as a reminder to the rebels that even the strongest among them cannot overcome the power of the capital. The male and female tributes will be reaped from their existing pool of victors. Yes, victors are our strongest. They're the ones who survived the arena and slipped the noose of poverty that strangles the rest of us. They, or should I say we, are the very embodiment of hope where there is no hope. And now 23 of us will be killed to show how even that hope was an illusion. I'm glad I won only last year. Otherwise, I'd know all the other victors, not just because I see them on television, but because they're guests at every games. Even if they're not mentoring like Haymitch always has to, most return to the capital each year for the event. I think a lot of them are friends. Whereas the only friend I'll have to worry about killing will be either Peeta or Haymitch. Peeta or Haymitch. I sit straight up, throwing off the sheeting. What just went through my mind? There's no situation in which I would ever kill Peeta or Haymitch. But one of them will be in the arena with me. And that's a fact. They may have even decided between them who it will be. Whoever is picked first, the other will have the option of volunteering to take his place. I already know what will happen. Peeta will ask Haymitch to let him go into the arena with me no matter what. For my sake, to protect me. I stumble around the cellar, looking for an exit. How did I even get into this place? I feel my way up the steps to the kitchen and see the glass window in the door has been shattered. Must be why my hand seems to be bleeding. I hurry back into the night and head straight to Haymitch's house. He's sitting alone at the kitchen table, a half-emptied bottle of white liquor in one fist, his knife in the other, drunk as a skunk.
There she is, all tuckered out. Finally did the math, did you, sweetheart? Worked out you won't be going in alone? And now you're here to ask me, what?
I don't answer. The window's wide open and the wind cuts through me just as if I were outside.
I'll admit, it was easier for the boy. He was here before I could snap the seal on a bottle, begging me for another chance to go in. But what can you say? Take his place, Haymitch, because all things being equal, I'd rather Peeta had a crack at the rest of his life than you.
I bite my lip, because once he's said it, I'm afraid that's what I do want. For Peeta to live, even if it means Haymitch's death. No, I don't. He's dreadful, of course, but Haymitch is my family now. What did I come for? I think what I possibly want here. I came for a drink. Haymitch bursts out laughing and slams the bottle on the table before me. I run my sleeve across the top and take a couple gulps before I come up choking. It takes a few minutes to compose myself, and even then my eyes and nose are still streaming. But inside me, the liquor feels like fire and I like it. Maybe it should be you. You hate life anyway.
Very true. And since last time I tried to keep you alive, seems like I'm obligated to save the boy this time.
That's another good point.
Peter's argument is that since I chose you, I now owe him anything he wants. And what he wants is the chance to go in again to protect you.
I knew it. In this way, Peeta's not hard to predict. While I was wallowing around on the floor of that cellar, thinking only of myself, he was here, thinking only of me. Shame isn't a strong enough word for what I feel.
You could live 100 lifetimes and not deserve him, you know.
Yeah. No question he's the superior one in this trio. So, what are you gonna do?
I don't know. Go back in with you maybe if I can. If my name's drawn at the reaping, it won't matter. He'll just volunteer to take my place.
We sit for a while in silence. It'd be bad for you in the arena, wouldn't it? Knowing all the others?
I think we can count on it being unbearable wherever I am. Can I have that back now?
No. Haymitch pulls another bottle out from under the table and gives the top a twist, but I realize I am not just here for a drink. There's something else I want from Haymitch. Okay, I figured out what I'm asking. If it is Peeta and me in the games, this time we try to keep him alive. Something flickers across his bloodshot eyes. Pain. Like you said, it's gonna be bad no matter how you slice it. And whatever Peeta wants, it's his turn to be saved. We both owe him that. Besides, the Capitol hates me so much I'm as good as dead now. He still might have a chance. Please, Haymitch, say you'll help me. He frowns at his bottle, weighing my words.
All right.
Thanks. I should go see Peeta now, but I don't want to. My head's spinning from the drink, and I'm so wiped out. Who knows what he could get me to agree to? No, now I have to go home to face my mother and Prim. As I stagger up the steps to my house, the front door opens and Gale pulls me into his arms.
I was wrong. We should have gone when you said.
I'm having trouble focusing, and liquor keeps sloshing out of my bottle and down the back of Gale's jacket, but he doesn't seem to care.
It's not too late.
Over his shoulder, I see my mother and Prim clutching each other in the doorway. We run. They die. And now I've got Peeta to protect. End of discussion. Yeah, it is. My knees give way and he's holding me up. As the alcohol overcomes my mind, I hear the glass bottle shatter on the floor. This seems appropriate since I have obviously lost my grip on everything. When I wake up, I barely get to the toilet before the white liquor makes its reappearance. It burns just as much coming up as it did going down and tastes twice as bad. I'm trembling and sweaty when I finish vomiting, but at least most of the stuff is out of my system. Enough made it into my bloodstream, though, to result in a pounding headache, parched mouth, and boiling stomach. I turn on the shower and stand under the warm rain for a minute before I realize I'm still in my underclothes. My mother must have just stripped off my filthy outer ones and tucked me in bed. I throw the wet undergarments into the sink and pour shampoo on my head. My hands sting, and that's when I notice the stitches, small and even, across one palm and up the side of the other hand. Vaguely, I remember breaking that glass window last night. I scrub myself from head to toe, only stopping to throw up again right in the shower. It's mostly just bile and goes down the drain with the sweet-smelling bubbles. Finally clean, I pull on my robe and head back to bed. Ignoring my dripping hair, I climb under the blankets, sure this is what it must feel like to be poisoned. The footsteps on the stairs renew my panic from last night. I'm not ready to see my mother and Prim. I have to pull myself together to be calm and reassuring, the way I was when we said our goodbyes the day of the last reaping. I have to be strong. I struggle into an upright position, push my wet hair off my throbbing temples, and brace myself for this meeting. They appear in the doorway, holding tea and toast, their faces filled with concern. I open my mouth, planning to start off with some kind of joke, and burst into tears. So much for being strong. My mother sits on the side of the bed and Prim crawls right up next to me and they hold me, making quiet, soothing sounds until I am mostly cried out. Then Prim gets a towel and dries my hair, combing out the knots, while my mother coaxes tea and toast into me. They dress me in warm pajamas and layer more blankets on me, and I drift off again. I can tell by the light it's late afternoon when I come round again. There's a glass of water on my bedside table and I gulp it down thirstily. My stomach and head still feel rocky, but much better than they did earlier. I rise, dress, and braid back my hair. Before I go down, I pause at the top of the stairs, feeling slightly embarrassed about the way I've handled the news of the Quarter Quell. My erratic flight, drinking with Haymitch, weeping. Given the circumstances, I guess I deserve one day of indulgence. I'm glad the cameras weren't here for it, though. Downstairs, my mother and Prim embrace me again, but they're not overly emotional. I know they're holding things in to make it easier on me. Looking at Prim's face, it's hard to imagine she's the same frail little girl I left behind on reaping day 9 months ago. The combination of that ordeal and all that has followed, the cruelty in the district, the parade of sick and wounded that she often treats by herself now if my mother's hands are too full, these things have aged her years. She's grown quite a bit too. We're practically the same height now, but that isn't what makes her seem so much older. My mother ladles out a mug of broth for me, and I ask for a second mug to take to Haymitch. Then I walk across the lawn to his house. He's only just waking up and accepts the mug without comment. We sit there almost peacefully, sipping our broth and watching the sun set through his living room window. I hear someone walking around upstairs and I assume it's Hazel, but a few minutes later, Peeta comes down and tosses a cardboard box of empty liquor bottles on the table with finality.
There, it's done.
It's taking all of Haymitch's resources to focus his eyes on the bottles, so I speak up. What's done?
I've poured all the liquor down the drain.
This seems to jolt Haymitch out of his stupor, and he paused through the box in disbelief.
You what?
I tossed the lot.
He'll just buy more.
No, he won't. I tracked down Ripper this morning and told her I'd turn her in the second she sold to either of you. I paid her off too, just for good measure, but I don't think she's eager to be back in the Peacekeeper's custody.
Haymitch takes a swipe with his knife, but Peeta deflects it so easily it's pathetic. Anger rises up in me. What business is it of yours what he does?
It's completely my business. However it falls out, 2 of us are going to be in the arena again with the other as mentor. We can't afford any drunkards on this team. Especially not you, Katniss.
What? Last night's the only time I've ever even been drunk.
Yeah, and look at the shape you're in.
I don't know what I expected from my first meeting with Peeta after the announcement. A few hugs and kisses. A little comfort maybe, not this. Don't worry, I'll get you more liquor.
Then I'll turn you both in. Let you sober up in the stocks.
What's the point to this?
The point is that 2 of us are coming home from the capital. 1 mentor and 1 victor. Effie's sending me recordings of all the living victors. We're going to watch their games and learn everything we can about how they fight. We're going to put on weight and get strong. We're going to start acting like careers. and one of us is going to be victor again whether you two like it or not.
Haymitch and I wince at the bang. I don't like self-righteous people.
What's to like?
Haymitch begins sucking the dregs out of the empty bottles. You and me. That's who he plans on coming home.
It's bore. When? The joke's on him.
But after a few days, we agree to act like careers, because this is the best way to get Peeta ready as well. Every night we watch the old recaps of the games that the remaining victors won. I realize we never met any of them on the victory tour, which seems odd in retrospect. When I bring it up, Haymitch says the last thing President Snow would have wanted was to show Peeta and me, especially me, bonding with other victors in potentially rebellious districts. Victors have a special status, and if they appeared to be supporting my defiance of the capital, it would have been dangerous politically. Adjusting for age, I realize some of our opponents may be elderly, which is both sad and reassuring. Peeta takes copious notes. Haymitch volunteers information about the victors' personalities, and slowly we begin to know our competition. Every morning we do exercises to strengthen our bodies. We run and lift things and stretch our muscles. Every afternoon we work on combat skills, throwing knives, fighting hand-to-hand. I even teach them to climb trees. Officially, tributes aren't supposed to train, but no one tries to stop us. Even in regular years, the tributes from Districts 1, 2, and 4 show up able to wield spears and swords. This is nothing by comparison. After all the years of abuse, Haymitch's body resists improvement. He's still remarkably strong, but the shortest run winds him. And you'd think a guy who sleeps every night with a knife might actually be able to hit the side of a house with one, but his hands shake so badly it takes weeks for him to achieve even that. Peeta and I excel under the new regimen, though. It gives me something to do. It gives us all something to do besides accept defeat. My mother puts us on a special diet to gain weight. Prim treats our sore muscles. Madge sneaks us her father's capital newspapers. Predictions on who will be victor of the victors show us among the favorites. Even Gale steps into the picture on Sundays, although he's got no love for Peeta or Haymitch and teaches us all he knows about snares. It's weird for me being in conversations with both Peeta and Gale, but they seem to have set aside whatever issues they have about me. One night, as I'm walking Gale back into town, he even admits,
It'd be better if he were easier to hate.
"Tell me about it. If I could have just hated him in the arena, we all wouldn't be in this mess now. He'd be dead, and I'd be a happy little victor all by myself."
And where would we be, Katniss?
I pause, not knowing what to say. Where would I be with my pretend cousin who wouldn't be my cousin if it weren't for Peeta? Would he have still kissed me, and would I have kissed him back had I been free to do so? Would I have let myself open up to him, lulled by the security of money and food and the illusion of safety being a victor could bring under different circumstances? But there would still always be the reaping looming over us, over our children, no matter what I wanted. Hunting. Like every Sunday. I know he didn't mean the question literally, but this is as much as I can honestly give. Gale knows I chose him over Peeta when I didn't make a run for it. To me, there's no point in talking about things that might have been. Even if I had killed Peeta in the arena, I still wouldn't have wanted to marry anyone. I only got engaged to save people's lives, and that completely backfired. I'm afraid, anyway, that any kind of emotional scene with Gale might cause him to do something drastic, like start that uprising in the mines. And as Haymitch says, District 12 isn't ready for that. Since I don't plan on making it back alive a second time, the sooner Gale lets me go, the better. I do plan on saying one or two things to him after the reaping, when we're allowed an hour for goodbyes, to let Gale know how essential he's been to me all these years, how much better my life has been for knowing him, for loving him, even if it's only in the limited way that I can manage. But I never get the chance. The day of the reaping's hot and sultry. The population of District 12 waits, sweating and silent, in the square with machine guns trained on them. I stand alone in a small roped-off area with Peeta and Haymitch in a similar pen to the right of me. The reaping takes only a minute. Effie, shining in a wig of metallic gold, lacks her usual verve. She has to claw around the girl's reaping ball for quite a while to snag the one piece of paper that everyone already knows has my name on it. Then she catches Haymitch's name. He barely has time to shoot me an unhappy look before Peeta has volunteered to take his place. We are immediately marched into the Justice Building to find Head Peacekeeper Thread waiting for us.
New procedure.
We're ushered out the back door, into a car, and taken to the train station. There are no cameras on the platform, no crowd to send us on our way. Haymitch and Effie appear, escorted by guards. Peacekeepers hurry us all onto the train and slam the door. The wheels begin to turn. And I'm left staring out the window, watching District 12 disappear with all my goodbyes still hanging on my lips. I remain at the window long after the woods have swallowed up the last glimpse of my home. This time, I don't have even the slightest hope of return. Before my first games, I promised Prim I would do everything I could to win, and now I've sworn to myself to do all I can to keep Peeta alive. I will never reverse this journey again. I'd actually figured out what I wanted my last words to my loved ones to be. How best to close and lock the doors and leave them sad but safely behind. And now the Capitol has stolen that as well.
We'll write letters, Katniss. It will be better anyway. Give them a piece of us to hold on to. Haymitch will deliver them for us if they need to be delivered.
I nod and go straight to my room. I sit on the bed, knowing I will never write those letters. They will be like the speech I tried to write to honor Ruin Thresh in District 11. Things seemed clear in my head, and even when I talked before the crowd, but the words never came out of the pen right. Besides, they were meant to go with embraces and kisses and a stroke of Prim's hair, a caress of Gale's face, a squeeze of Madge's hand. They cannot be delivered with a wooden box containing my cold, stiff body. Too heartsick to cry. All I want is to curl up on the bed and sleep until we arrive in the capital tomorrow morning. But I have a mission. No, it's more than a mission. It's my dying wish. Keep Peeta alive. And as unlikely as it seems that I can achieve it in the face of the capital's anger, it's important that I be at the top of my game. This won't happen if I'm mourning for everyone I love back home. Let them go, I tell myself. Say goodbye and forget them. I do my best, thinking of them one by one, releasing them like birds from the protective cages inside me, locking the doors against their return. By the time Effie knocks on my door to call me to dinner, I'm empty. But the lightness isn't entirely unwelcome. The meal's subdued. So subdued, in fact, that there are long periods of silence relieved only by the removal of old dishes and presentation of new ones. A cold soup of pureed vegetables, fish cakes with creamy lime paste, those little birds filled with orange sauce, with wild rice and watercress, chocolate custard dotted with cherries. Peeta and Effie make occasional attempts at conversation that quickly die out.
I love your new hair, Effie.
Thank you. I had it especially done to match Katniss's pin. I was thinking we might get you a golden ankle band and maybe find Haymitch a gold bracelet or something so we could all look like a team.
Evidently, Effie doesn't know that my Mockingjay pin is now a symbol used by the rebels, at least in District 8. In the capital, the Mockingjay is still a fun reminder of an especially exciting Hunger Games. What else could it be? Real rebels don't put a secret symbol on something as durable as jewelry. They put it on a wafer of bread that can be eaten in a second if necessary.
I think that's a great idea. How about it, Haymitch?
Yeah, whatever.
He's not drinking, but I can tell he'd like to be. Effie had them take her own wine away when she saw the effort he was making, but he's in a miserable state. If he were the tribute, he would have owed Peeta nothing and could be as drunk as he liked. Now it's going to take all he's got to keep Peeta alive in an arena full of his old friends, and he'll probably fail. Maybe we could get you a wig, too. He just shoots me a look that says to leave him alone, and we all eat our custard in silence.
Shall we watch the recap of the reapings?
Peeta goes off to retrieve his notebook on the remaining living victors, and we gather in the compartment with the television to see who our competition will be in the arena. We are all in place as the anthem begins to play and the annual recap of the reaping ceremonies in the 12 districts begins. In the history of the games, there have been 75 victors. 59 are still alive. I recognize many of their faces, either from seeing them as tributes or mentors at previous games, or from our recent viewing of the victors' tapes. Some are so old or wasted by illness, drugs, or drink that I can't place them. As one would expect, the pools of career tributes from Districts 1, 2, and 4 are the largest, but every district has managed to scrape up at least one female and one male victor. The reapings go by quickly. Peeta studiously puts stars by the names of the chosen tributes in his notebook. Haymitch watches, his face devoid of emotion, as friends of his step up to take the stage. Effie makes hushed, distressed comments and sighs frequently.
Oh, not Cecilia?
For my part, I try to make some mental record of the other tributes, but like last year, only a few really stick in my head. There's the classically beautiful brother and sister from District 1. Brutus, a volunteer from District 2, who must be at least 40. Finnick, the handsome, bronze-haired guy from District 4. A hysterical young woman is also called from 4, but she's quickly replaced by a volunteer, an 80-year-old woman who needs a cane to walk to the stage. Then there's Johanna Mason, the only living female victor from 7. The woman from 8, who Effie calls Cecilia, who has to detach herself from 3 kids. Chaff, a man from 11 who I know to be one of Haymitch's particular friends, is also in up. I'm called. Then Haymitch. And Peeta volunteers. One of the announcers actually gets teary because it seems the odds will never be in our favor. We star-crossed lovers of District 12. Then she pulls herself together to say she bets that these will be the best games ever. Haymitch leaves the compartment without a word, and Effie, after making a few unconnected comments about this tribute or that, bids us goodnight. I just sit there watching Peeta rip out the pages of the victors who were not picked.
Why don't you get some sleep?
Because I can't handle the nightmares. Not without you, I think. They are sure to be dreadful tonight. But I can hardly ask Peeta to come sleep with me. We've barely touched since that night Gale was whipped. What are you going to do?
Just review my notes a while. Get a clear picture of what we're up against. But I'll go over it with you in the morning. Go to bed, Katniss.
So I go to bed, and sure enough, within a few hours I awake from a nightmare where that old woman from District 4 transforms into a large rodent and gnaws on my face. I know I was screaming, but no one comes. Not Peeta, not even one of the Capitol attendants. I pull on a robe to try to calm the gooseflesh crawling over my body. Staying in my compartment is impossible, so I decide to go find someone to make me tea or hot chocolate or anything. Maybe Haymitch is still up. Surely he isn't asleep. I order warm milk, the most calming thing I can think of, from an attendant. Hearing voices from the television room, I go in and find Peeta. Beside him on the couch is the box Effie sent of tapes of the old Hunger Games. I recognize the episode in which Brutus became victor. Peeta rises and flips off the tape when he sees me.
Couldn't sleep?
Not for long. I pull the robe more securely around me as I remember the old woman transforming into the rodent.
Want to talk about it?
Sometimes that can help, but I just shake my head, feeling weak that people I haven't even fought yet already haunt me. When Peeta holds out his arms, I walk straight into them. It's the first time since they announced the Quarter Quell that he's offered me any sort of affection. He's been more like a very demanding trainer, always pushing, always insisting Haymitch and I run faster, eat more, know our enemy better. Lover? Forget about that. He abandoned any pretense of even being my friend. I wrap my arms tightly around his neck before he can order me to do push-ups or something. Instead, he pulls me in close and buries his face in my hair. Warmth radiates from the spot where his lips just touch my neck, slowly spreading through the rest of me. It feels so good, so impossibly good, that I know I will not be the first to let go. And why should I? I have said goodbye to Gale. I'll never see him again, that's for certain. Nothing I do now can hurt him. He won't see it or he'll think I am acting for the cameras. That, at least, is one weight off my shoulders. The arrival of the Capitol attendant with the warm milk is what breaks us apart. He sets a tray with a steaming ceramic jug and 2 mugs on a table.
I brought an extra cup.
Thanks.
And I added a touch of honey to the milk for sweetness and just a pinch of spice.
He looks at us like he wants to say more, then gives his head a slight shake and backs out of the room. What's with him?
I think he feels bad for us.
Right.
I mean it. I don't think the people in the Capitol are going to be all that happy about our going back in, or the other victors. They get attached to their champions.
I'm guessing they'll get over it once the blood starts flowing. Really, if there's one thing I don't have time for, it's worrying about how the Quarter Quell will affect the mood in the Capitol. So, you're watching all the tapes again?
Not really, just sort of skipping around to see people's different fighting techniques.
Who's next?
You pick.
The tapes are marked with the year of the games and the name of the victor. I dig around and suddenly find one in my hand that we have not watched. The year of the games is 50. That would make it the second Quarter Quell. And the name of the victor is Haymitch Abernathy. We never watched this one.
No, I knew Haymitch didn't want to. The same way we didn't want to relive our own games. And since we're all on the same team, I didn't think it mattered much.
Is the person who won in 25 in here?
I don't think so. Whoever it was must be dead by now, and Effie only sent me victors we might have to face. Why? You think we ought to watch it?
It's the only quell we have. We might pick up something valuable about how they work. But I feel weird. It seems like some major invasion of Haymitch's privacy. I don't know why it should, since the whole thing was public. But it does. I have to admit, I'm also extremely curious. We don't have to tell Haymitch we saw it. He puts in the tape, and I curl up next to him on the couch with my milk, which is really delicious with the honey and spices, and lose myself in the 50th Hunger Games. After the anthem, they show President Snow drawing the envelope for the second Quarter Quell. He looks younger, but just as repellent. He reads from the square of paper in the same onerous voice he used for ours, informing Panem that in honor of the Quarter Quell, there will be twice the number of tributes. The editors smash cut right into the reapings, where name after name after name is called. By the time we get to District 12, I'm completely overwhelmed by the sheer number of kids going to certain death. There's a woman, not Effie, calling the names in 12, but she still begins with ladies first. She calls out the name of a girl who's from the seam. You can tell by the look of her, and then I hear the name Macy Donner. Oh, she was my mother's friend. The camera finds her in the crowd, clinging to two other girls. All blonde, all definitely merchants' kids.
I think that's your mother hugging her.
And he's right. As Macy Donner bravely disengages herself and heads for the stage, I catch a glimpse of my mother at my age, and no one has exaggerated her beauty. Holding her hand and weeping is another girl who looks just like Macy, but a lot like someone else I know too. Madge.
That's her mother? She and Maisy were twins or something. My dad mentioned it once.
I think of Madge's mother, Mayor Undersea's wife, who spends half her life in bed, immobilized with terrible pain, shutting out the world. I think of how I never realized that she and my mother shared this connection. Of Madge showing up in that snowstorm to bring the painkiller for Gale. Of my Mockingjay pin and how it means something completely different now that I know that its former owner was Madge's aunt, Macy Donner, a tribute who was murdered in the arena. Haymitch's name is called last of all. It's more of a shock to see him than my mother. Young, strong. Hard to admit, but he was something of a looker. His hair dark and curly, those gray seam eyes bright and, even then, dangerous. Oh, Peeta, you don't think he killed Maisy, do you? I don't know why, but I can't stand the thought.
With 48 players? I'd say the odds are against it.
The chariot rides in which the District 12 kids are dressed in awful coal miners' outfits, and the interviews flash by. There's little time to focus on anyone, but since Haymitch is going to be the victor, we get to see one full exchange between him and Caesar Flickerman, who looks exactly as he always does in his twinkling midnight blue suit. Only his dark green hair, eyelids, and lips are different.
So, Haymitch, what do you think of the games having 100% more competitors than usual?
I don't see that it makes much difference. They'll still be 100%, as stupid as usual, so I figure my odds will be roughly the same.
The audience bursts out laughing, and Haymitch gives them a half smile, snarky, arrogant, indifferent. He didn't have to reach far for that, did he? Now it's the morning the games begin. We watch from the point of view of one of the tributes as she rises up through the tube from the launch room and into the arena. I can't help but give a slight gasp. Disbelief is reflected on the faces of the players. Even Haymitch's eyebrows lift in pleasure, although they almost immediately knit themselves back into a scowl. It's the most breathtaking place imaginable. The golden cornucopia sits in the middle of a green meadow with patches of gorgeous flowers. The sky is azure blue with puffy white clouds. Bright songbirds flutter overhead. An aerial shot shows that the meadow stretches for miles. The beauty disorients many of the players because when the gong sounds, most of them seem like they're trying to wake from a dream. Not Haymitch, though. He's at the cornucopia, armed with weapons and a backpack of choice supplies. He heads for the woods before most of the others have stepped off their plates. 18 tributes are killed in the bloodbath that first day. Others begin to die off, and it becomes clear that almost everything in this pretty place is deadly poisonous. Only the rainwater and the food provided at the cornucopia are safe to consume. There's also a large, well-stocked career pack of 10 tributes scouring the mountain area for victims. Haymitch has his own troubles over in the woods, where the fluffy golden squirrels turn out to be carnivorous and attack in packs, and the butterfly stings bring agony if not death. But he persists in moving forward, always keeping the distant mountain at his back. Macy Donner turns out to be pretty resourceful herself for a girl who leaves the cornucopia with only a small backpack. Inside, she finds a bowl, some dried beef, and a blowgun with 24 darts. Making use of the readily available poisons, she soon turns the blowgun into a deadly weapon by dipping the darts in lethal substances and directing them into her opponent's flesh. 4 days in, the picturesque mountain erupts in a volcano that wipes out another dozen players, including all but 5 of the career pack. With the mountain spewing liquid fire and the meadow offering no means of concealment, the remaining 13 tributes, including Haymitch and Maisily, have no choice but to confine themselves to the woods. Haymitch seems bent on continuing in the same direction, but a maze of tightly woven hedges forces him to circle back into the center of the woods, where he encounters 3 of the careers and pulls his knife. They may be much bigger and stronger, but Haymitch has remarkable speed and has killed 2 when the third disarms him. That career is about to slit his throat when a dart drops him to the ground. Maisily Donner steps out of the woods.
We'd live longer with 2 of us.
Guess you just proved that, allies?
Maisily nods, and there they are, instantly drawn into one of those packs you'd be hard-pressed to break if you ever expect to go home and face your district. Just like Peeta and me, they do better together. Get more rest, work out a system to salvage more rainwater, fight as a team, and share the food from the dead tributes packs. But Haymitch is still determined to keep moving on.
Why?
Maisily keeps asking, and he ignores her until she refuses to move any farther without an answer.
Because it has to end somewhere, right? The arena can't go on forever.
What do you expect to find?
I don't know. But maybe there's something we can use.
When they finally do make it through that impossible hedge, using a blowtorch from one of the dead careers packs, they find themselves on flat, dry earth that leads to a cliff. Far below, you can see jagged rocks.
That's all there is, Haymitch. Let's go back.
No, I'm staying here.
All right, there's only 5 of us left. May as well say goodbye now, anyway. I don't want it to come down to you and me.
Okay.
That's all. He doesn't offer to shake her hand or even look at her. And she walks away. Haymitch skirts along the edge of the cliff as if trying to figure something out. His foot dislodges a pebble and it falls into the abyss, apparently gone forever. But a minute later, as he sits to rest, the pebble shoots back up beside him. Haymitch stares at it, puzzled, and then his face takes on a strange intensity. He lobs a rock the size of his fist over the cliff and waits. When it flies back out and right into his hand, he starts laughing. That's when we hear Maisily begin to scream. The alliance is over and she broke it off, so no one could blame him for ignoring her. But Haymitch runs for her anyway. He arrives only in time to watch the last of a flock of candy-pink birds, equipped with long, thin beaks, skewer her through the neck. He holds her hand while she dies, and all I can think of is Rue and how I was too late to save her, too. Later that day, another tribute is killed in combat and a third gets eaten by a pack of those fluffy squirrels, leaving Haymitch and a girl from District 1 to vie for the crown. She's bigger than he is and just as fast. And when the inevitable fight comes, it's bloody and awful, and both have received what could well be fatal wounds when Haymitch is finally disarmed. He staggers through the beautiful woods, holding his intestines in, while she stumbles after him, carrying the axe that should deliver his death blow. Haymitch makes a beeline for his cliff and has just reached the edge when she throws the axe. He collapses on the ground and it flies into the abyss. Now weaponless as well, the girl just stands there, trying to staunch the flow of blood pouring from her empty eye socket. She's thinking perhaps that she can outlast Haymitch, who's starting to convulse on the ground. But what she doesn't know, and what he does, is that the axe will return. And when it flies back over the ledge, it buries itself in her head. The cannon sounds, her body is removed, and the trumpets blow to announce Haymitch's victory. Peeta clicks off the tape, and we sit there in silence for a while.
That force field at the bottom of the cliff, it was like the one on the roof of the training center, the one that throws you back if you try to jump off and commit suicide. Haymitch found a way to turn it into a weapon.
Not just against the other tributes, but the capital, too. You know they didn't expect that to happen. It wasn't meant to be part of the arena. They never planned on anyone using it as a weapon. It made them look stupid that he figured it out. I bet they had a good time trying to spin that one. Bet that's why I don't remember seeing it on television. It's almost as bad as Us and the Berries. I can't help laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. Peeta just shakes his head like I've lost my mind. And maybe I have a little.
Almost, but not quite.
I whip around, afraid he's going to be angry over us watching his tape, but he just smirks and takes a swig from a bottle of wine. So much for sobriety. I guess I should be upset he's drinking again, but I'm preoccupied with another feeling.
I've spent all these weeks getting to know who my competitors are, without even thinking about who my teammates are. Now a new kind of confidence is lighting up inside of me because I think I finally know who Haymitch is, and I'm beginning to know who I am. And surely, two people who have caused the capital so much trouble can think of a way to get Peeta home alive.
Having been through prep with Flavius, Vania, and Octavia numerous times, it should just be an old routine to survive. But I haven't anticipated the emotional ordeal that awaits me.
At some point during the prep, each of them bursts into tears at least twice, and Octavia pretty much keeps up a running whimper throughout the morning. It turns out they really have become attached to me, and the idea of my returning to the arena has undone them. Combine that with the fact that by losing me, they'll be losing their ticket to all kinds of big social events, particularly my wedding, and the whole thing becomes unbearable. The idea of being strong for someone else having never entered their heads, I find myself in the position of having to console them. Since I'm the person going in to be slaughtered, this is somewhat annoying. It's interesting, though, when I think of what Peeta said about the attendant on the train being unhappy about the victors having to fight again, about people in the capital not liking it. I still think all of that will be forgotten once the gong sounds, but it's something of a revelation that those in the capital feel anything at all about us. They certainly don't have a problem watching children murdered every year. But maybe they know too much about the victors, especially the ones who've been celebrities for ages, to forget we're human beings. It's more like watching your own friends die. More like the games are for those of us in the districts. By the time Cinna shows up, I am irritable and exhausted from comforting the prep team, especially because their constant tears are reminding me of the ones undoubtedly being shed at home. Standing there in my thin robe with my stinging skin and heart, I know I can't bear even one more look of regret. So the moment he walks in the door, I snap. I swear if you cry, I'll kill you here and now. Cinna just smiles.
Had a damp morning?
You could wring me out. Cinna puts his arm around my shoulder and leads me into lunch.
Don't worry, I always channel my emotions into my work. That way, I don't hurt anyone but myself.
I can't go through that again.
I know. I'll talk to them.
Lunch makes me feel a bit better. Pheasant with a selection of jewel-colored jellies and tiny versions of real vegetables swimming in butter and potatoes mashed with parsley. For dessert, we dip chunks of fruit in a pot of melted chocolate, and Cinna has to order a second pot because I start just eating the stuff with a spoon. So, what are we wearing for the opening ceremonies? Headlamps or fire? I know the chariot ride will require Peeta and me to be dressed in something coal-related.
Something along that line?
When it's time to get in costume for the opening ceremonies, my prep team shows up, but Cinna sends them away, saying they've done such a spectacular job in the morning, there's nothing left to do. They go off to recover, thankfully leaving me in Cinna's hands. He puts up my hair first, in the braided style my mother introduced him to, then proceeds with my makeup. Last year he used little so that the audience would recognize me when I landed in the arena. But now my face is almost obscured by the dramatic highlights and dark shadows. High arching eyebrows, sharp cheekbones, smoldering eyes, deep purple lips. The costume looks deceptively simple at first, just a fitted black jumpsuit that covers me from the neck down. He places a half crown like the one I received as victor on my head, but it's made of a heavy black metal, not gold. Then he adjusts the light in the room to mimic twilight and presses a button just inside the fabric on my wrist. I look down, fascinated as my ensemble slowly comes to life. First with a soft golden light, but gradually transforming to the orange-red of burning coal. I look as if I have been coated in glowing embers. No, that I am a glowing ember straight from our fireplace. How did you do this?
Portia and I spent a lot of hours watching fires. Now look at yourself.
He turns me toward a mirror so that I can take in the entire effect. I do not see a girl or even a woman, but some unearthly being who looks like she might make her home in the volcano that destroyed so many in Haymitch's Quell. The black crown, which now appears red-hot, casts strange shadows on my dramatically made-up face. Katniss, the girl on fire, has left behind her flickering flames and bejeweled gowns and soft candlelight frocks. She is as deadly as fire itself. I think this is just what I needed to face the others.
Yes, I think your days of pink lipstick and ribbons are behind you. Let's not run down your power pack. When you're on the chariot this time, no waving, no smiling. I just want you to look straight ahead, as if the entire audience is beneath your notice.
Finally, something I'll be good at. Cinna has a few more things to attend to, so I decide to head down to the ground floor of the Remake Center, which houses the huge gathering place for the tributes and their chariots before the opening ceremonies. I'm hoping to find Peeta and Haymitch, but they haven't arrived yet. Unlike last year, when all the tributes were practically glued to their chariots, the scene is very social. The victors, both this year's tributes and their mentors, are standing around in small groups, talking. Of course, they all know one another and I don't know anyone. And I'm not really the sort of person to go around introducing myself. So I just stroke the neck of one of my horses and try not to be noticed. It doesn't work. The crunching hits my ear before I even know he's beside me. And when I turn my head, Finnick Odair's famous sea green eyes are only inches from mine. He pops a sugar cube in his mouth and leans against my horse.
Hello, Katniss.
Hello, Finnick.
Want a sugar cube? They're supposed to be for the horses, but who cares? They've got years to eat sugar, whereas you and I, well, if we see something sweet, we better grab it quick.
Finnick Odair is something of a living legend in Panem. Since he won the 65th Hunger Games when he was only 14, he's still one of the youngest victors. Being from District 4, he was a career, but what no trainer could claim to have given him was his extraordinary beauty. Tall, athletic, with golden skin and bronze-colored hair, and those incredible eyes. While other tributes that year were hard-pressed to get a gift, Finnick never wanted for anything. It took about a week for his competitors to realize that he was the one to kill, but it was too late. When he received a silver parachute with a trident, it was all over. District 4's industry is fishing. He'd been on boats his whole life. The trident was a natural, deadly extension of his arm. He wove a net out of some kind of vine he found, used it to entangle his opponents so he could spear them with the trident, and within a matter of days the crown was his. The citizens of the capital have been drooling over him ever since. Because of his youth, they couldn't really touch him for the first year or two. But ever since he turned 16, he's spent his time at the games being daubed by those desperately in love with him. No one retains his favor for long. He can go through 4 or 5 in his annual visit. I can't argue that Finnick isn't one of the most stunning, sensuous people on the planet, but I can honestly say he's never been attractive to me. Maybe he's too pretty, or maybe he's too easy to get, or maybe it's really that he'd just be too easy to lose. No, thanks. I'd love to borrow your outfit sometime, though. He's draped in a golden net that's strategically knotted at his groin so that he can't technically be called naked, but he's about as close as you can get. I'm sure his stylist thinks the more of Finnick the audience sees, the better.
You're absolutely terrifying me in that getup. What happened to the pretty little girl dresses?
He wets his lips just ever so slightly with his tongue. Probably this drives most people crazy. But for some reason, all I can think of is old Cray, salivating over some poor, starving young woman. I outgrew them.
Finnick takes the collar of my outfit and runs it between his fingers.
It's too bad about this Quell thing. You could have made out like a bandit in the capital. Jewels, money, anything you wanted.
I don't like jewels, and I have more money than I need. What do you spend all yours on anyway, Finnick?
Oh, I haven't dealt in anything as common as money for years.
Then how do they pay you for the pleasure of your company?
What about you, girl on fire? Do you have any secrets worth my time?
For some stupid reason, I blush, but I force myself to hold my ground.
No, I'm an open book. Everybody seems to know my secrets before I know them myself.
He smiles.
Unfortunately, I think that's true. Peeta is coming. Sorry you have to cancel your wedding. I know how devastating that must be for you.
He tosses another sugar cube in his mouth and saunters off. Peeta's beside me, dressed in an outfit identical to mine.
What did Finnick Odair want?
I turn and put my lips close to Peeta's and drop my eyelids in imitation of Finnick. He offered me sugar and wanted to know all my secrets.
Not really.
Really? I'll tell you more when my skin stops crawling.
Do you think we'd have ended up like this if only one of us had won?
Sure. Especially you.
Oh, and why especially me?
Because you have a weakness for beautiful things and I don't. They would lure you into their capital ways and you'd be lost entirely.
Having an eye for beauty isn't the same thing as a weakness, except possibly when it comes to you.
The music is beginning and I see the wide doors opening for the first chariot. Hear the roar of the crowd.
Shall we?
He holds out a hand to help me into the chariot. I climb up and pull him up after me. Hold still. Have you seen your suit turned on? we're going to be fabulous again.
Absolutely. But Portia says we're to be very above it all. No waving or anything. Where are they, anyway?
I don't know. Maybe we better go ahead and switch ourselves on. We do, and as we begin to glow, I can see people pointing at us and chattering, and I know that, once again, we'll be the talk of the opening ceremonies. We're almost at the door. I crane my head around, but neither Portia nor Senna, who were with us right up to the final second last year, are anywhere in sight. Are we supposed to hold hands this year?
I guess they've left it up to us.
I look up into those blue eyes that no amount of dramatic makeup can make truly deadly, and remember how, just a year ago, I was prepared to kill him, convinced he was trying to kill me.
Now everything is reversed. I'm determined to keep him alive, knowing the cost will be my own life, but the part of me that is not so brave as I could wish is glad that it's Peeta, not Haymitch, beside me. Our hands find each other without further discussion. Of course we will go into this as one. The voice of the crowd rises into one universal scream as we roll into the fading evening light, but neither one of us reacts. I simply fix my eyes on a point far in the distance and pretend there is no audience, no hysteria. I can't help catching glimpses of us on the huge screens along the route, and we are not just beautiful, we are dark and powerful, no more. We star-crossed lovers from District 12 who suffered so much and enjoyed so little the rewards of our victory. Do not seek the fans' favor, grace them with our smiles, or catch their kisses. We are unforgiving. And I love it. Getting to be myself at last. As we curve around into the loop of the city circle, I can see that a couple of the other stylists have tried to steal Cinna and Portia's idea of illuminating their tributes. The electric light-studded outfits from District 3, where they make electronics, at least make sense. But what are the livestock keepers from District 10, who are dressed as cows, doing with flaming belts? Broiling themselves? Pathetic. Peeta and I, on the other hand, are so mesmerizing with our ever-changing coal costumes that most of the other tributes are staring at us. We seem particularly riveting to the pair from District 6 who are known morphling addicts. Both bone-thin with sagging yellowish skin, they can't tear their overlarge eyes away even when President Snow begins to speak from his balcony, welcoming us all to the Quell. The anthem plays, and as we make our final trip around the circle, am I wrong? Or do I see the president fixated on me as well? Peeta and I wait until the doors of the training center have closed behind us to relax. Cinna and Portia are there, pleased with our performance, and Haymitch has made an appearance this year as well, only he's not at our chariot, he's over with the tributes of District 11. I see him nod in our direction, and then they follow him over to greet us.
I know Chaff by sight because I've spent years watching him pass a bottle back and forth with Haymitch on television. He's dark-skinned, about 6 feet tall, and one of his arms ends in a stump because he lost his hand in the games he won 30 years ago. I'm sure they offered him some artificial replacement, like they did Peeta when they had to amputate his lower leg, but I guess he didn't take it. The woman, Cedar, looks almost like she could be from the seam, with her olive skin and straight black hair streaked with silver. Only her golden brown eyes mark her as from another district. She must be around 60, but she still looks strong, and there's no sign she's turned to liquor or morphling or any other chemical form of escape over the years. Before either of us says a word, she embraces me. I know somehow it must be because of Rue and Thresh. Before I can stop myself, I whisper, "The families."
They're alive.
Chaff throws his good arm around me and gives me a big kiss right on the mouth. I jerk back, startled, while he and Haymitch guffaw. That's about all the time we get before the Capitol attendants are firmly directing us toward the elevators. I get the distinct feeling they're not comfortable with the camaraderie among the victors, who couldn't seem to care less. As I walk toward the elevators, my hand still linked with Peeta's, someone else rustles up to my side. The girl pulls off a headdress of leafy branches and tosses it behind her without bothering to look where it falls. Johanna Mason, from District 7, Lumber and Paper, thus the tree. She won by very convincingly, portraying herself as weak and helpless so that she would be ignored. Then she demonstrated a wicked ability to murder. She ruffles up her spiky hair and rolls her wide-set brown eyes.
My stylist's the biggest idiot in the capital. Our tributes have been trees for 40 years under her. Wish I'd gotten Cinna. He looked fantastic.
Girl talk. That thing I've always been so bad at. Opinions on clothes, hair, makeup, so I lie. Yeah, he's been helping me design my own clothing line. You should see what he can do with velvet.
That strapless number you wore in District 2, the deep blue one with the diamonds. So gorgeous I wanted to reach through the screen and tear it right off your back.
I bet you did. With a few inches of my flesh? While we wait for the elevators, Johanna unzips the rest of her tree, letting it drop to the floor and then kicks it away in disgust. Except for her forest green slippers, she doesn't have on a stitch of clothing.
That's better.
We end up on the same elevator with her, and she spends the whole ride to the 7th floor chatting to Peeta about his paintings while the light of his still glowing costume reflects off her bare breasts. When she leaves, I ignore him, but I just know he's grinning. I toss aside his hand as the doors close behind Chaff and Cedar, leaving us alone, and he breaks out laughing. What?
It's you, Katniss. Can't you see?
What's me?
Why they're all acting like this? Finnick with his sugar cubes and Chaff kissing you and that whole thing with Johanna stripping down. They're playing with you because you're so, you know.
No. I don't know.
It's like when you wouldn't look at me naked in the arena, even though I was half dead. You're so pure.
I am not. I've been practically ripping your clothes off every time there's been a camera for the last year.
Yeah, but I mean, for the Capitol, you're pure. For me, you're perfect. They're just teasing you.
No, they're laughing at me, and so are you. Peeta shakes his head, but he's still suppressing a smile. I'm seriously rethinking the question of who should get out of these games alive when the other elevator opens. Haymitch and Effie join us, looking pleased about something. Then Haymitch's face grows hard. What did I do now? I almost say, but I see he's staring behind me at the entrance to the dining room.
Looks like they've got you a matched set this year.
I turn around and find the red-headed Avox girl who tended to me last year until the games began. I think how nice it is to have a friend here. I notice that the young man beside her, another Avox, also has red hair. That must be what Effie meant by a matched set. Then a chill runs through me, because I know him, too. Not from the Capitol, but from years of having easy conversations in the hob, joking over greasy Sia's soup, and that last day watching him lie unconscious in the square while the life bled out of Gale. Our new Avox is Darius. Haymitch grips my wrist as if anticipating my next move, but I am as speechless as the Capitol's torturers have rendered Darius. Haymitch once told me they did something to Avox's tongues so they could never talk again. In my head, I hear Darius's voice, playful and bright, ringing across the hob to tease me. Not as my fellow victors make fun of me now, but because we genuinely liked each other. If Gale could see him. I know any move I would make toward Darius, any act of recognition would only result in punishment for him. So we just stare into each other's eyes. Darius, now a mute slave, me, now headed to death. What would we say, anyway? That we're sorry for the other's lot? That we ache for the other's pain? Title? The Hunger Games. Catching Fire. Cast by our Tally Studio. Please subscribe to our channel if you enjoy listening. Glad we had the chance to know each other? No, Darius shouldn't be glad he knew me. If I had been there to stop Thread, he wouldn't have stepped forward to save Gale. Wouldn't be an Avox. And more specifically, wouldn't be my Avox, because President Snow has so obviously had him placed here for my benefit. I twist my wrist from Haymitch's grasp and head down to my old bedroom, locking the door behind me. I sit on the side of my bed, elbows on my knees, forehead on my fists, and watch my glowing suit in the darkness, imagining I am in my old home in District 12, huddled beside the fire. It slowly fades back to black as the power pack dies out. When Effie eventually knocks on the door to summon me to dinner, I get up and take off my suit, fold it neatly, and set it on the table with my crown. In the bathroom, I wash the dark streaks of makeup from my face. I dress in a simple shirt and pants and go down the hall to the dining room. I'm not aware of much at dinner except that Darius and the red-headed Avox girl are our servers. Effie, Haymitch, Cinna, Portia, and Peeta are all there, talking about the opening ceremonies, I suppose. But the only time I really feel present is when I purposely knock a dish of peas to the floor and, before anyone can stop me, crouch down to clean them up. Darius is right by me when I send the dish over, and we two are briefly side by side, obscured from view as we scoop up the peas. For just one moment our hands meet. I can feel his skin, rough under the buttery sauce from the dish. In the tight, desperate clench of our fingers are all the words we will never be able to say. Then Effie's clucking at me from behind about how,
That isn't your job, Katniss.
And he lets go.
When we go in to watch the recap of the opening ceremonies, I wedge myself in between Cinna and Haymitch on the couch because I don't want to be next to Peeta. This awfulness with Darius belongs to me and Gale and maybe even Haymitch, but not to Peeta. He might have known Darius to nod hello, but Peeta wasn't Hob the way the rest of us were. Besides, I'm still angry with him for laughing at me along with the other victors, and the last thing I want is his sympathy and comfort. I haven't changed my mind about saving him in the arena, but I don't owe him more than that. As I watch the procession to the city circle, I think how it's bad enough that they dress us all up in costumes and parade us through the streets in chariots on a regular year. Kids in costumes are silly, but aging victors, it turns out, are pitiful. A few who are on the younger side, like Johanna and Finnick, or whose bodies haven't fallen into disrepair, like Cedar and Brutus, can still manage to maintain a little dignity. But the majority, who are in the clutches of drink or morphling or illness, look grotesque in their costumes depicting cows and trees and loaves of bread. Last year we chattered away about each contestant, but tonight there's only the occasional comment. Small wonder the crowd goes wild when Peeta and I appear. Looking so young and strong and beautiful in our brilliant costumes, the very image of what tributes should be. As soon as it's over, I stand up and thank Cinna and Portia for their amazing work and head off to bed. Effie calls a reminder to meet early for breakfast to work out our training strategy, but even her voice sounds hollow. Poor Effie. She finally had a decent year in the games with Peeta and me, and now it's all broken down into a mess that even she can't put a positive spin on. In capital terms, I'm guessing this counts as a true tragedy. Soon after I go to bed, there's a quiet knock on my door, but I ignore it. I don't want Peeta tonight, especially not with Darius around. It's almost as bad as if Gale were here. Gale, how am I supposed to let him go with Darius haunting the hallways? Tongues figure prominently in my nightmares. First I watch frozen and helpless while gloved hands carry out the bloody dissection in Darius's mouth. Then I'm at a party where everyone wears masks and someone with a flicking, wet tongue, who I suppose is Finnick, stalks me, but when he catches me and pulls off his mask, it's President Snow, and his puffy lips are dripping in bloody saliva. Finally, I'm back in the arena, my own tongue as dry as sandpaper, while I try to reach a pool of water that recedes every time I'm about to touch it. When I wake, I stumble to the bathroom and gulp water from the faucet until I can hold no more. I strip off my sweaty clothes and fall back into bed, naked, and somehow find sleep again. I delay going down to breakfast as long as possible the next morning because I really don't want to discuss our training strategy. What's to discuss? Every victor already knows what everybody else can do, or used to be able to do, anyway. So Peeta and I will continue to act in love, and that's that. Somehow I'm just not up to talking about it, especially with Darius standing mutely by. I take a long shower, dress slowly in the outfit Cinna has left for training, and order food from the menu in my room by speaking into a mouthpiece. In a minute, sausage, eggs, potatoes, bread, juice, and hot chocolate appear. I eat my fill, trying to drag out the minutes until 10 o'clock, when we have to go down to the training center. By 9:30, Haymitch is pounding on my door, obviously fed up with me, ordering me to the dining room now. Still, I brush my teeth before meandering down the hall, effectively killing another 5 minutes. The dining room's empty except for Peeta and Haymitch, whose face is flushed with drink and anger. On his wrists, he wears a solid gold bangle with a pattern of flames. This must be his concession to Effie's matching token plan, that he twists unhappily. It's a very handsome bangle, really, but the movement makes it seem like something confining, a shackle, rather than a piece of jewelry.
You're late.
Sorry. I slept in after the mutilated tongue nightmares kept me up half the night.
All right, never mind. Today, in training, you've got 2 jobs. 1, stay in love,
Obviously.
and 2, make some friends.
No, I don't trust any of them. I can't stand most of them, and I'd rather operate with just the 2 of us.
That's what I said at first, but
But it won't be enough. You're going to need more allies this time around.
Why?
Because you're at a distinct disadvantage. Your competitors have known each other for years. So, who do you think they're going to target first?
Us. And nothing we're gonna do is going to override any old friendship. So why bother?
Because you can fight. You're popular with the crowd. That could still make you desirable allies. But only if you let the others know you're willing to team up with them.
You mean you want us in the career pack this year? Traditionally, the tributes from Districts 1, 2, and 4 join forces, possibly taking in a few other exceptional fighters, and hunt down the weaker competitors.
That's been our strategy, hasn't it? To train like careers? And who makes up the career pack is generally agreed upon before the games begin. Peeta barely got in with them last year.
I think of the loathing I felt when I discovered Peeta was with the careers during the last games. So, we're to try to get in with Finnick and Brutus, is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily everyone's a victor. Make your own pack if you'd rather. Choose who you like. I'd suggest Chaff and Cedar. Although Finnick's not to be ignored, find someone to team up with who might be of some use to you. Remember, you're not in a ring full of trembling children anymore. These people are all experienced killers, no matter what shape they appear to be in.
Maybe he's right. Only who could I trust? Cedar, maybe. But do I really want to make a pact with her, only to possibly have to kill her later? No. Still, I made a pact with Rue under the same circumstances. I tell Haymitch I'll try, even though I think I'll be pretty bad at the whole thing.
Effie shows up a bit early to take us down because last year, even though we were on time, we were the last 2 tributes to show up. But Haymitch tells her he doesn't want her taking us down to the gym. None of the other victors will be showing up with a babysitter, and being the youngest, it's even more important we look self-reliant. So she has to satisfy herself with taking us to the elevator, fussing over our hair, and pushing the button for us. It's such a short ride that there's no real time for conversation. But when Peeta takes my hand, I don't pull it away. I may have ignored him last night in private, but in training we must appear as an inseparable team. Effie needn't have worried about us being the last to arrive. Only Brutus and the woman from District 2 in Oberia are present. And Oberia looks to be about 30, and all I can remember about her is that in hand-to-hand combat she killed one tribute by ripping open his throat with her teeth. She became so famous for this act that, after she was a victor, she had her teeth cosmetically altered so each one ends in a sharp point like a fang and is inlaid with gold. She has no shortage of admirers in the capital. By 10 o'clock, only about half of the tributes have shown up. Atala, the woman who runs training, begins her spiel right on time, unfazed by the poor attendance. Maybe she expected it. I'm sort of relieved, because that means there are a dozen people I don't have to pretend to make friends with. Atala runs through the list of stations, which include both combat and survival skills, and releases us to train. I tell Peeta I think we do best to split up, thus covering more territory. When he goes off to chuck spears with Brutus and Chaff, I head over to the knot-tying station. Hardly anyone ever bothers to visit it. I like the trainer, and he remembers me fondly. Maybe because I spent time with him last year. He's pleased when I show him I can still set the trap that leaves an enemy dangling by a leg from a tree. Clearly, he took note of my snares in the arena last year and now sees me as an advanced pupil, so I ask him to review every kind of knot that might come in handy and a few that I'll probably never use. I'd be content to spend the morning alone with him, but after about an hour and a half, someone puts his arms around me from behind, his fingers easily finishing the complicated knot I've been sweating over. Of course it's Finnick, who seems to have spent his childhood doing nothing but wielding tridents and manipulating ropes into fancy knots for nets, I guess. I watch for a minute while he picks up a length of rope, makes a noose, and then pretends to hang himself for my amusement. Rolling my eyes, I head over to another vacant station where tributes can learn to build fires. I already make excellent fires, but I'm still pretty dependent on matches for starting them. So the trainer has me work with flint, steel, and some charred cloth. This is much harder than it looks, and even working as intently as I can, it takes me about an hour to get a fire going. I look up with a triumphant smile, only to find I have company. The 2 tributes from District 3 are beside me, struggling to start a decent fire with matches. I think about leaving, but I really want to try using the flint again, and if I have to report back to Haymitch that I tried to make friends, these 2 might be a bearable choice. Both are small in stature with ashen skin and black hair. The woman, Wyrus, is probably around my mother's age and speaks in a quiet, intelligent voice. But right away I notice she has a habit of dropping off her words in mid-sentence, as if she's forgotten you're there. BT, the man, is older and somewhat fidgety. He wears glasses, but spends a lot of time looking under them. They're a little strange, but I'm pretty sure neither of them is going to try to make me uncomfortable by stripping naked. And they're from District 3. Maybe they can even confirm my suspicions of an uprising there. I glance around the training center. Peeta is at the center of a ribald circle of knife throwers. The morphlings from District 6 are in the camouflage station, painting each other's faces with bright pink swirls. The male tribute from District 5 is vomiting wine on the sword-fighting floor. Finnick and the old woman from his district are using the archery station. Johanna Mason is naked again and oiling her skin down for a wrestling lesson. I decide to stay put. Wyrus and Beatty make decent company. They seem friendly enough but don't pry. We talk about our talents. They tell me they both invent things, which makes my supposed interest in fashion seem pretty weak. Wyrus brings up some sort of stitching device she's working on.
It senses the density of the fabric and selects the strength.
The strength of the thread. Automatically. It rules out human error.
Then he talks about his recent success creating a musical chip that's tiny enough to be concealed in a flake of glitter but can hold hours of songs. I remember Octavia talking about this during the wedding shoot, and I see a possible chance to allude to the uprising. Oh, yeah. My prep team was all upset a few months ago, I think, because they couldn't get hold of that. I guess a lot of orders from District 3 were getting backed up.
Yes. Did you have any similar backups in coal production this year?
No, well, we lost a couple of weeks when they brought in a new head peacekeeper and his crew, but nothing major. To production, I mean. 2 weeks sitting around your house doing nothing just means 2 weeks of being hungry for most people. I think they understand what I'm trying to say, that we've had no uprising.
Oh, that's a shame. I found your district very...
Interesting. We both did.
Well, there aren't very many of us in 12. Not that you'd know it nowadays by the size of the peacekeeping force, but I guess we're interesting enough. As we move over to the shelter station, YRS stops and gazes up at the stands where the game makers are roaming around, eating and drinking, sometimes taking notice of us.
Look.
I look up and see Plutarch Heavensby in the magnificent purple robe with the fur-trimmed collar that designates him as head game maker. He's eating a turkey leg. Yes, he's been promoted to head game maker this year.
No. They're by the corner of the table. You can just...
Just make it out.
I stare in that direction, perplexed. But then I see it. A patch of space about 6 inches square at the corner of the table seems almost to be vibrating. It's as if the air is rippling in tiny visible waves, distorting the sharp edges of the wood and a goblet of wine someone has set there.
A force field. They've set one up between the game makers and us. I wonder what brought that on.
Me, probably. Last year I shot an arrow at them during my private training session. I was provoked. So, do all force fields have a spot like that?
Chink.
In the armor, as it were, ideally it'd be invisible, wouldn't it?
I want to ask them more, but lunch is announced. I look for Peeta, but he's hanging with a group of about 10 other victors, so I decide just to eat with District 3. Maybe I can get Cedar to join us. When we make our way into the dining area, I see some of Peeta's gang have other ideas. They're dragging all the smaller tables to form one large table so that we all have to eat together. Now I don't know what to do. Even at school, I used to avoid eating at a crowded table. Frankly, I'd probably have sat alone if Madge hadn't made a habit of joining me. I guess I'd have eaten with Gale, except, being 2 grades apart, our lunch never fell at the same time. I take a tray and start making my way around the food-laden carts that ring the room. Peeta catches up with me at the stew.
How's it going?
Good. Fine. I like the District 3 victors. Wyrus and BT.
Really? There's something of a joke to the others.
Why does that not surprise me? I think of how Peeta was always surrounded at school by a crowd of friends. It's amazing, really, that he ever took any notice of me except to think I was odd.
Johann has nicknamed them Nuts and Volts. I think she's nuts and he's Volts.
And so I'm stupid for thinking they might be useful, because of something Johanna Mason said while she was oiling up her breast for wrestling.
Actually, I think the nickname's been around for years, and I didn't mean that as an insult. I'm just sharing information.
Well, Virus and Beatty are smart. They invent things. They could tell by sight that a force field had been put up between us and the game makers. And if we have to have allies, I want them.
What are you so angry about? Because I teased you on the elevator? I'm sorry. I thought you would just laugh about it.
Forget it. It's a lot of things.
Darius,
the games, Haymitch making us team up with the others.
it can just be you and me, you know?
I know, but maybe Haymitch is right. Don't tell him I said so, but he usually is, where the games are concerned.
Well, you can have final say about our allies, but right now, I'm leaning toward Chaff and Cedar.
I'm okay with Cedar, not Chaff. Not yet, anyway.
Come on and eat with him. I promise, I won't let him kiss you again.
Chaff doesn't seem as bad at lunch. He's sober, And while he talks too loud and makes bad jokes a lot, most of them are at his own expense. I can see why he would be good for Haymitch, whose thoughts run so darkly. But I'm still not sure I'm ready to team up with him. I try hard to be more sociable, not just with Chaff, but with the group at large. After lunch, I do the edible insect station with the District 8 tributes, Cecilia, who's got 3 kids at home, and Woof, a really old guy who's hard of hearing and doesn't seem to know what's going on since he keeps trying to stuff poisonous bugs in his mouth. I wish I could mention meeting Twill and Bonnie in the woods, but I can't figure out how. Cashmere and Gloss, the sister and brother from District 1, invite me over and we make hammocks for a while. They're polite but cool, and I spend the whole time thinking about how I killed both the tributes from their district, Glimmer and Marvel, last year, and that they probably knew them, and might even have been their mentors. Both my hammock and my attempt to connect with them are mediocre at best. I join a Noberia at sword training and exchange a few comments, but it's clear neither of us wants to team up. Finnick appears again when I'm picking up fishing tips, but mostly just to introduce me to Mags, the elderly woman who's also from District 4. Between her district accent and her garbled speech, possibly she's had a stroke, I can't make out more than 1 in 4 words. But I swear she can make a decent fish hook out of anything: a thorn, a wishbone, an earring. After a while, I tune out the trainer and simply try to copy whatever Mags does. When I make a pretty good hook out of a bent nail and fasten it to some strands of my hair, she gives me a toothless smile and an unintelligible comment I think might be praise. Suddenly I remember how she volunteered to replace the young, hysterical woman in her district. It couldn't be because she thought she had any chance of winning. She did it to save the girl, just like I volunteered last year to save Prim. And I decide I want her on my team. Great! Now I have to go back and tell Haymitch I want an 80-year-old and nuts and vaults for my allies. He'll love that. So I give up trying to make friends and go over to the archery range for some sanity. It's wonderful there, getting to try out all the different bows and arrows. The trainer, Tax, seeing that the standing targets offer no challenge for me, begins to launch these silly fake birds high into the air for me to hit. At first it seems stupid, but it turns out to be kind of fun. Much more like hunting a moving creature. Since I'm hitting everything he throws up, he starts increasing the number of birds he sends airborne. I forget the rest of the gym and the victors and how miserable I am and lose myself in the shooting. When I manage to take down 5 birds in 1 round, I realize it's so quiet I can hear each one hit the floor. I turn and see the majority of the victors have stopped to watch me. Their faces show everything from envy to hatred to admiration. After training, Peeta and I hang out, waiting for Haymitch and Effie to show up for dinner. When we're called to eat, Haymitch pounces on me immediately.
So at least half the victors have instructed their mentors to request you as an ally. I know it can't be your sunny personality.
They saw her shoot. Actually, I saw her shoot. For real, for the first time. I'm about to put in a formal request myself.
You're that good? So good that Brutus wants you?
But I don't want Brutus. I want Mags in District 3.
Of course you do. I'll tell everybody you're still making up your mind.
After my shooting exhibition, I still get teased some, but I no longer feel like I'm being mocked. In fact, I feel as if I've somehow been initiated into the victor's circle. During the next 2 days, I spend time with almost everybody headed for the arena, even the morphlings, who, with Peeta's help, paint me into a field of yellow flowers. Even Finnick, who gives me an hour of trident lessons in exchange for an hour of archery instruction. And the more I come to know these people, the worse it is. Because, on the whole, I don't hate them, and some I like. And a lot of them are so damaged that my natural instinct would be to protect them. But all of them must die if I'm to save Peeta. The final day of training ends with our private sessions. We each get 15 minutes before the game makers to amaze them with our skills, but I don't know what any of us might have to show them. There's a lot of kidding about it at lunch. What we might do: sing, dance, strip, tell jokes. Mags, who I can understand a little better now, decides she's just going to take a nap. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Shoot some arrows, I guess. Haymitch said to surprise them if we could, but I'm fresh out of ideas. As the girl from 12, I'm scheduled to go last. The dining room gets quieter and quieter as the tributes file out to go perform. It's easier to keep up the irreverent, invincible manner we've all adopted when there are more of us. As people disappear through the door, all I can think is that they have a matter of days to live. Peeta and I are finally left alone. He reaches across the table to take my hands.
Decided what to do for the game makers yet?
I can't really use them for target practice this year. With the force field up and all, maybe make some fish hooks. What about you?
Not a clue. I keep wishing I could bake a cake or something.
Some more camouflage.
If the Morphlings have left me anything to work with, they've been glued to that station since training started.
We sit in silence a while, and then I blurt out the thing that's on both our minds. How are we going to kill these people, Peeta?
I don't know.
I don't want them as allies. Why did Haymitch want us to get to know them? It'll make it so much harder than last time, except for Rue, maybe. But I guess I never really could have killed her anyway. She was just too much like Prim.
Her death was the most despicable, wasn't it?
None of them were very pretty. They call Peeta, so I wait by myself. 15 minutes pass. Then half an hour. It's close to 40 minutes before I'm called. When I go in, I smell the sharp odor of cleaner and notice that one of the mats has been dragged to the center of the room. The mood is very different from last year's, when the game makers were half drunk and distractedly picking at tidbits from the banquet table. They whisper among themselves, looking somewhat annoyed. What did Peeta do? Something to upset them? I feel a pang of worry. That isn't good. I don't want Peeta singling himself out as a target for the game maker's anger. That's part of my job. To draw fire away from Peeta. But how did he upset them? Because I'd love to do just that and more. To break through the smug veneer of those who use their brains to find amusing ways to kill us. To make them realize that while we're vulnerable to the capital's cruelties, they are as well. Do you have any idea how much I hate you? I think. You, who have given your talents to the games.
I try to catch Plutarch Heavensby's eye, but he seems to be intentionally ignoring me, as he has the entire training period. I remember how he sought me out for a dance, how pleased he was to show me the Mockingjay on his watch.
His friendly manner has no place here. How could it, when I'm a mere tribute and he's the head game maker? So powerful, so removed, so safe. Suddenly, I know just what I'm going to do. Something that will blow anything Peeta did right out of the water. I go over to the knot tying station and get a length of rope. I start to manipulate it, but it's hard because I've never made this actual knot myself. I've only watched Finnick's clever fingers, and they moved so fast. After about 10 minutes, I've come up with a respectable noose. I drag one of the target dummies out into the middle of the room and, using some chinning bars, hang it so it dangles by the neck. Tying its hands behind its back would be a nice touch, but I think I might be running out of time. I hurry over to the camouflage station, where some of the other tributes, undoubtedly the Morphlings, have made a colossal mess, but I find a colossal container of bloodroot berry juice that will serve my needs. The flesh-colored fabric of the dummy's skin makes a good, absorbent canvas. I carefully finger-paint the words on its body, concealing them from view. Then I step away quickly to watch the reaction on the game makers' faces as they read the name on the dummy. Seneca Crane. The effect on the game makers is immediate and satisfying. Several let out small shrieks. Others lose their grips on their wine glasses, which shatter musically against the ground. 2 seem to be considering fainting. The look of shock is unanimous. Now I have Plutarch Heavensby's attention. He stares steadily at me as the juice from the peach he crushed in his hand runs through his fingers. Finally, he clears his throat and says,
You may go now, Miss Everdeen.
I give a respectful nod and turn to go, but at the last moment I can't resist tossing the container of berry juice over my shoulder. I can hear the contents splatter against the dummy while a couple more wine glasses break. As the elevator doors close before me, I see no one has moved.
That surprised them, I think. It was rash and dangerous, and no doubt I will pay for it 10 times over. But for the moment, I feel something close to elation, and I let myself savor it. I want to find Haymitch immediately and tell him about my session, but no one's around. I guess they're getting ready for dinner, and I decide to go take a shower myself since my hands are stained from the juice. As I stand in the water, I begin to wonder about the wisdom of my latest trick. The question that should now always be my guide is, will this help Peeta stay alive? Indirectly, this might not. What happens in training is highly secretive, so there's no point in taking action against me when no one will know what my transgression was. In fact, last year I was rewarded for my brashness. This is a different sort of crime, though. If the game makers are angry with me and decide to punish me in the arena, Peeta could get caught up in the attack as well. Maybe it was too impulsive. Still, I can't say I'm sorry I did it. As we all gather for dinner, I notice Peeta's hands are faintly stained with a variety of colors, even though his hair is still damp from bathing. He must have done some form of camouflage after all. Once the soup is served, Haymitch gets right to the issue on everyone's mind.
All right, so how did your private sessions go?
I exchange a look with Peeta. Somehow, I'm not that eager to put what I did into words. In the calm of the dining room, it seems very extreme. You first. It must have been really special. I had to wait for 40 minutes to go in.
Well, I did the camouflage thing like you suggested, Katniss. Not exactly camouflage. I mean, I used the dyes.
To do what?
I think of how ruffled the game makers were when I entered the gym for my session. The smell of cleaners. The mat pulled over that spot in the center of the gym. Was it to conceal something they were unable to wash away? You painted something, didn't you? A picture.
Did you see it?
No, but they'd made a real point of covering it up.
Well, that would be standard. They can't let one tribute know what another did. What did you paint, Peeta? Was it a picture of Katniss?
Why would he paint a picture of me, Effie?
To show he's gonna do everything he can to defend you. That's what everyone in the Capitol's expecting anyway. Didn't he volunteer to go in with you?
Actually, I painted a picture of Rue. How she looked after Katniss had covered her in flowers.
And what exactly were you trying to accomplish?
I'm not sure. I just wanted to hold them accountable, if only for a moment, for killing that little girl.
This is dreadful. That sort of thinking. It's forbidden, Peeta. Absolutely. You'll only bring down more trouble on yourself and Katniss.
I have to agree with Effie on this one.
Portia and Cinna remain silent, but their faces are very serious. Of course, they're right. But even though it worries me, I think what he did was amazing. I guess this is a bad time to mention I hung a dummy and painted Seneca Crane's name on it. This has the desired effect. After a moment of disbelief, all the disapproval in the room hits me like a ton of bricks.
You hung Seneca Crane?
Yes, I was showing off my new knot-tying skills, and he somehow ended up at the end of the noose.
Oh, Katniss, how do you even know about that?
Is it a secret? President Snow didn't act like it was. In fact, he seemed eager for me to know. Now I've upset Effie. I should have lied and said I shot some arrows.
You'd have thought we planned it.
Didn't you?
No, neither of us even knew what we were going to do before we went in.
And, Haymitch, we decided we don't want any other allies in the arena.
Good. Then I won't be responsible for you killing off any of my friends with your stupidity.
That's just what we were thinking. We finish the meal in silence, but when we rise to go into the sitting room, Cinna puts his arm around me and gives me a squeeze.
Come on, and let's go get those training scores.
We gather around the television set and a red-eyed Effie rejoins us. The tributes' faces come up district by district and their scores flash under their pictures. 1 through 12, predictably high scores for Kashmir, Glosh, Brutus, Inabaria, and Finnick. Low to medium for the rest. Have they ever given a 0?
No, but there's a first time for everything.
And it turns out he's right, because when Peeta and I each pull a 12, we make Hunger Games history. No one feels like celebrating, though. Why did they do that?
So that the others will have no choice but to target you. Go to bed. I can't stand to look at either one of you.
Peeta walks me down to my room in silence, but before he can say goodnight, I wrap my arms around him and rest my head against his chest. His hands slide up my back and his cheek leans against my hair. I'm sorry if I made things worse.
No worse than I did. Why did you do it anyway?
I don't know. To show them that I'm more than just a piece in their games? He laughs a little, no doubt remembering the night before the games last year. We were on the roof, neither of us able to sleep. Peeta had said something of the sort then, but I hadn't understood what he meant. Now I do.
Me too! And I'm not saying I'm not gonna try. To get you home, I mean. But, if I'm perfectly honest about it...
If you're perfectly honest about it, you think President Snow has probably given them direct orders to make sure we die in the arena anyway.
It's crossed my mind.
It's crossed my mind too, repeatedly. But while I know I'll never leave that arena alive, I'm still holding on to the hope that Peeta will. After all, he didn't pull out those berries. I did. No one has ever doubted that Peeta's defiance was motivated by love. So maybe President Snow will prefer keeping him alive, crushed, and heartbroken as a living warning to others.
But even if that happens, everyone will know we've gone out fighting, right?
Everyone will. And for the first time, I distance myself from the personal tragedy that has consumed me since they announced the Quell. I remember the old man they shot in District 11, and Bonnie and Twill, and the rumored uprisings. Yes, everyone in the districts will be watching me to see how I handle this death sentence, this final act of President Snow's dominance. They will be looking for some sign that their battles have not been in vain. If I can make it clear that I'm still defying the Capitol right up to the end, the Capitol will have killed me. But not my spirit. What better way to give hope to the rebels? The beauty of this idea is that my decision to keep Peeta alive at the expense of my own life is itself an act of defiance. A refusal to play the Hunger Games by the Capitol's rules. My private agenda dovetails completely with my public one. And if I really could save Peeta, in terms of a revolution, this would be ideal. Because I will be more valuable dead. They can turn me into some kind of martyr for the cause and paint my face on banners, and it will do more to rally people than anything I could do if I was living. But Peeta would be more valuable alive, and tragic because he will be able to turn his pain into words that will transform people. Peeta would lose it if he knew I was thinking any of this, so I only say, so what should we do with our last few days?
I just want to spend every possible minute of the rest of my life with you.
Come on, then. It feels like such a luxury sleeping with Peeta again. I didn't realize until now how starved I've been for human closeness. For the feel of him beside me in the darkness. I wish I hadn't wasted the last couple of nights shutting him out. I sink down into sleep, enveloped in his warmth, and when I open my eyes again, daylight streaming through the windows.
No nightmares.
No nightmares? You?
None. I'd forgotten what a real night's sleep feels like.
We lie there for a while, in no rush to begin the day. Tomorrow night will be the televised interview, so today Effie and Haymitch should be coaching us. More high heels and sarcastic comments, I think. But then the red-headed Avox girl comes in with a note from Effie saying that, given our recent tour, both she and Haymitch have agreed we can handle ourselves adequately in public. The coaching sessions have been cancelled.
Really? Do you know what this means? We'll have the whole day to ourselves.
It's too bad we can't go somewhere.
Who says we can't?
The roof. We order a bunch of food, grab some blankets, and head up to the roof for a picnic. A day-long picnic in the flower garden that tinkles with wind chimes. We eat. We lie in the sun. I snap off hanging vines and use my newfound knowledge from training to practice knots and weave nets. Peeta sketches me. We make up a game with the force field that surrounds the roof. One of us throws an apple into it, and the other person has to catch it. No one bothers us. By late afternoon, I lie with my head on Peeta's lap, making a crown of flowers while he fiddles with my hair, claiming he's practicing his knots. After a while, his hands go still. What?
I wish I could freeze this moment, right here, right now, and live in it forever.
Usually this sort of comment, the kind that hints of his undying love for me, makes me feel guilty and awful. But I feel so warm and relaxed and beyond worrying about a future I'll never have, I just let the words slip out. Okay.
Then you'll allow it?
I'll allow it. His fingers go back to my hair and I doze off, but he rouses me to see the sunset. It's a spectacular yellow and orange blaze behind the skyline of the Capitol.
I didn't think you'd want to miss it.
Thanks, because I can count on my fingers the number of sunsets I have left, and I don't want to miss any of them. We don't go and join the others for dinner, and no one summons us.
I'm glad. I'm tired of making everyone around me so miserable. Everybody crying. Or Haymitch.
We stay on the roof until bedtime and then quietly slip down to my room without encountering anyone. The next morning, we're roused by my prep team. The sight of Peeta and me sleeping together is too much for Octavia, because she bursts into tears right away.
You remember what Senna told us.
Octavia nods and goes out sobbing. Peeta has to return to his room for prep, and I'm left alone with Venia and Flavius. The usual chatter has been suspended. In fact, there's little talk at all, other than to have me raise my chin or comment on a makeup technique. It's nearly lunch when I feel something dripping on my shoulder and turn to find Flavius, who's snipping away at my hair with silent tears running down his face. Venia gives him a look, and he gently sets the scissors on the table and leaves. Then it's just Venia, whose skin is so pale her tattoos appear to be leaping off it. Almost rigid with determination, she does my hair and nails and makeup, fingers flying swiftly to compensate for her absent teammates. The whole time, she avoids my gaze. It's only when Cinna shows up to approve me and dismiss her that she takes my hands, looks me straight in the eye, and says,
We would all like you to know what a privilege it has been to make you look your best.
Then she hastens from the room. My prep team. My foolish, shallow, affectionate pets, with their obsessions with feathers and parties, nearly break my heart with their goodbye. It's certain from Vania's last words that we all know I won't be returning. Does the whole world know it? I wonder. I look at Cinna. He knows, certainly, but as he promised, there's no danger of tears from him. So, what am I wearing tonight?
President Snow put in the dress order himself.
He unzips the bag, revealing one of the wedding dresses I wore for the photo shoot. Heavy white silk with a low neckline and tight waist and sleeves that fall from my wrists to the floor, and pearls, everywhere pearls, stitched into the dress and in ropes at my throat and forming the crown for the veil.
Even though they announced the Quarter Quell the night of the photo shoot, people still voted for their favorite dress, and this was the winner. The president says you're to wear it tonight. Our objections were ignored.
I rub a bit of the silk between my fingers, trying to figure out President Snow's reasoning. I suppose since I was the greatest offender, my pain and loss and humiliation should be in the brightest spotlight. This, he thinks, will make that clear. It's so barbaric. The president turning my bridal gown into my shroud, that the blow strikes home, leaving me with a dull ache inside. Well, it'd be a shame to waste such a pretty dress. Cinna helps me carefully into the gown. As it settles on my shoulders, they can't help giving a shrug of complaint. Was it always this heavy? I remember several of the dresses being dense, but this one feels like it weighs a ton.
I had to make some slight alterations because of the lighting.
I nod, but I can't see what that has to do with anything. He decks me out in the shoes and the pearl jewelry and the veil. Touches up my makeup. Has me walk.
You're ravishing. Now, Katniss, because this bodice is so fitted, I don't want you raising your arms above your head. Well, not until you twirl, anyway.
Will I be twirling again?
I'm sure Caesar will ask you, and if he doesn't, you suggest it yourself. Only not right away. Save it for your big finale.
You give me a signal so I know when.
All right, any plans for your interview? I know Haymitch left you two to your own devices.
No, this year I'm just winging it. The funny thing is, I'm not nervous at all. And I'm not. However much President Snow may hate me, this capital audience is mine. We meet up with Effie, Haymitch, Portia, and Peeta at the elevator. Peeta's in an elegant tuxedo and white gloves. The sort of thing grooms wear to get married in here in the capital. Back home, everything is so much simpler. A woman usually rents a white dress that's been worn hundreds of times. The man wears something clean that's not mining clothes. They fill out some forms at the Justice Building and are assigned a house. Family and friends gather for a meal or bit of cake if it can be afforded. Even if it can't, there's always a traditional song we sing as the new couple crosses the threshold of their home, and we have our own little ceremony where they make their first fire, toast a bit of bread, and share it. Maybe it's old-fashioned, but no one really feels married in District 12 until after the toasting. The other tributes have already gathered off stage and are talking softly, but when Peeta and I arrive, they fall silent. I realize everyone's staring daggers at my wedding dress. Are they jealous of its beauty? The power it might have to manipulate the crowd?
I can't believe Cinna put you in that thing.
He didn't have any choice. President Snow made him.
Well, you look ridiculous.
She grabs her brother's hand and pulls him into place to lead our procession onto the stage. The other tributes begin to line up as well. I'm confused because, while they all are angry, some are giving us sympathetic pats on the shoulder, and Johanna Mason actually stops to straighten my pearl necklace.
Make him pay for it, okay?
I nod, but I don't know what she means. Not until we're all sitting out on stage and Caesar Flickerman, hair and face highlighted in lavender this year, has done his opening spiel and the tributes begin their interviews. This is the first time I realize the depth of betrayal felt among the victors and the rage that accompanies it. But they are so smart, so wonderfully smart about how they play it, because it all comes back to reflect on the government and President Snow in particular. Not everyone. There are the old throwbacks like Brutus and Enobaria, who are just here for another games, and those too baffled or drugged or lost to join in on the attack. But there are enough victors who still have the wits and the nerve to come out fighting. Kashmir starts the ball rolling with a speech about how she just can't stop crying when she thinks of how much the people in the capital must be suffering because they will lose us. Gloss recalls the kindness shown here to him and his sister. BT questions the legality of the quell in his nervous, twitchy way, wondering if it's been fully examined by experts of late. Finnick recites a poem he wrote to his one true love in the capital, and about 100 people faint because they're sure he means them. By the time Johanna Mason gets up, she's asking if something can't be done about the situation. Surely the creators of the Quarter Quell never anticipated such love forming between the victors and the capital. No one could be so cruel as to sever such a deep bond. Cedar quietly ruminates about how back in District 11, everyone assumes President Snow is all-powerful. So if he's all-powerful, why doesn't he change the Quell? And Chaff, who comes right on her heels, insists the president could change the Quell if he wanted to, but he must not think it matters much to anyone. By the time I'm introduced, the audience is an absolute wreck. People have been weeping and collapsing and even calling for change. The sight of me in my white silk bridal gown practically causes a riot. No more me, no more star-crossed lovers living happily ever after, no more wedding. I can see even Caesar's professionalism showing some cracks as he tries to quiet them so I can speak, but my 3 minutes are ticking quickly away.
So, Katniss, obviously this is a very emotional night for everyone. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Only that I'm so sorry you won't get to be at my wedding. But I'm glad you at least get to see me in my dress. Isn't it just the most beautiful thing?
I don't have to look at Cinna for a signal. I know this is the right time. I begin to twirl slowly, raising the sleeves of my heavy gown above my head. When I hear the screams of the crowd, I think it's because I must look stunning. Then I notice something is rising up around me. Smoke from fire. Not the flickery stuff I wore last year in the chariot, but something much more real that devours my dress. I begin to panic as the smoke thickens. Charred bits of black silk swirl into the air, and pearls clatter to the stage. Somehow I'm afraid to stop because my flesh doesn't seem to be burning, and I know Cinna must be behind whatever is happening. So I keep spinning and spinning. For a split second, I'm gasping, completely engulfed in the strange flames. Then, all at once, the fire is gone. I slowly come to a stop, wondering if I'm naked and why Cinna has arranged to burn away my wedding dress. But I'm not naked. I'm in a dress of the exact design of my wedding dress, only it's the color of coal and made of tiny feathers. Wonderingly, I lift my long, flowing sleeves into the air, and that's when I see myself on the television screen. Clothed in black except for the white patches on my sleeves. Or should I say my wings? Because Cinna has turned me into a mockingjay. I'm still smoldering a little, so it's with a tentative hand that Caesar reaches out to touch my headpiece. The white is burned away, leaving a smooth-fitted veil of black that drapes into the neckline of the dress in the back.
You're like a bird.
A mockingjay, I think. It's the bird on the pin I wear as a token. A shadow of recognition flickers across Caesar's face, and I can tell he knows that the mockingjay isn't just my token, that it's come to symbolize so much more. That what will be seen as a flashy costume change in the capital is resonating in an entirely different way throughout the districts. But he makes the best of it.
Well, hats off to your stylist. I don't think anyone can argue that that's not the most spectacular thing we've ever seen in an interview. Cinna, I think you better take a bow.
Caesar gestures for Cinna to rise. He does, and makes a small, gracious bow. And suddenly I am so afraid for him. What has he done? Something terribly dangerous. An act of rebellion in itself. And he's done it for me. I remember his words. Don't worry. I always channel my emotions into my work. That way I don't hurt anyone but myself. And I'm afraid he has hurt himself beyond repair. The significance of my fiery transformation will not be lost on President Snow. The audience, who's been stunned into silence, breaks into wild applause. I can barely hear the buzzer that indicates that my 3 minutes are up. Caesar thanks me and I go back to my seat, my dress now feeling lighter than air. As I pass Peeta, who's headed for his interview, he doesn't meet my eyes. I take my seat carefully, but aside from the puffs of smoke here and there, I seem unharmed, so I turn my attention to him.
Caesar and Peeta have been a natural team since they first appeared together a year ago. Their easy give and take, comic timing, and ability to segue into heart-wrenching moments, like Peeta's confession of love for me, have made them a huge success with the audience.
They effortlessly open with a few jokes about fires and feathers and overcooking poultry. But anyone can see that Peeta is preoccupied, so Caesar directs the conversation right into the subject that's on everyone's minds.
So, Peeta, what was it like when, after all you've been through, you found out about the Quell?
I was in shock. I mean, one minute I'm seeing Katniss looking so beautiful in all these wedding gowns, and the next,
You realized there was never going to be a wedding?
Caesar, do you think all our friends here can keep a secret?
An uncomfortable laugh emanates from the audience. What can he mean? Keep a secret from who? Our whole world is watching.
I feel quite certain of it.
We're already married.
The crowd reacts in astonishment, and I have to bury my face in the folds of my skirt so they can't see my confusion. Where on earth is he going with this?
But how can that be?
Oh, it's not an official marriage. We didn't go to the Justice Building or anything. But we have this marriage ritual in District 12. I don't know what it's like in the other districts, but there's this thing we do.
Were your families there?
No, we didn't tell anyone. Not even Haymitch. And Katniss's mother would never have approved. But you see, we knew if we were married in the capital, there wouldn't be a toasting. And neither of us really wanted to wait any longer. So one day, we just did it. And to us, we're more married than any piece of paper or big party could make us.
So this was before the Quell?
Of course, before the Quell. I'm sure we'd never have done it after we knew, but who could have seen it coming? No one. We went through the games, we were victors, everyone seemed so thrilled to see us together, and then out of nowhere. I mean, how could we anticipate a thing like that?
You couldn't, Peeta. As you say, no one could have. But I have to confess, I'm glad you two had at least a few months of happiness together.
Enormous applause. Enormous applause, as if encouraged. I look up from my feathers and let the audience see my tragic smile of thanks. The residual smoke from the feathers has made my eyes teary, which adds a very nice touch.
I'm not glad. I wish we had waited until the whole thing was done officially.
Surely even a brief time is better than no time.
Maybe I'd think that too, Caesar, if it weren't for the baby.
There, he's done it again. Dropped a bomb that wipes out the efforts of every tribute who came before him. Well, maybe not. Maybe this year he has only lit the fuse on a bomb that the victors themselves have been building, hoping someone would be able to detonate it. Perhaps thinking it would be me in my bridal gown, not knowing how much I rely on Cinna's talents, whereas Peeta needs nothing more than his wits. As the bomb explodes, it sends accusations of injustice and barbarism and cruelty flying out in every direction. Even the most capital-loving, games-hungry, bloodthirsty person out there can't ignore, at least for a moment, how horrific the whole thing is. I am pregnant. The audience can't absorb the news right away. It has to strike them and sink in and be confirmed by other voices before they begin to sound like a herd of wounded animals, moaning, shrieking, calling for help. And me? I know my face is projected in a tight close-up on the screen, but I don't make any effort to hide it because for a moment, even I am working through what Peeta has said. Isn't it the thing I dreaded most about the wedding, about the future, the loss of my children to the games? And it could be true now, couldn't it? If I hadn't spent my life building up layers of defenses until I recoil at even the suggestion of marriage or a family. Caesar can't reign in the crowd again, not even when the buzzer sounds. Peeta nods his goodbye and comes back to his seat without any more conversation. I can see Caesar's lips moving, but the place is in total chaos and I can't hear a word. Only the blast of the anthem, cranked up so loud I can feel it vibrating through my bones, lets us know where we stand in the program. I automatically rise, and as I do, I sense Peeta reaching out for me. Tears run down his face as I take his hand. How real are the tears? Is this an acknowledgement that he has been stalked by the same fears that I have? That every victor has? Every parent in every district in Panem. I look back to the crowd, but the faces of Rue's mother and father swim before my eyes. Their sorrow, their loss. I turn spontaneously to Chaff and offer my hand. I feel my fingers close around the stump that now completes his arm and hold fast. And then it happens. Up and down the row, the victors begin to join hands. Some right away, like the Morphlings or Virus and BT. Others unsure but caught up in the demands of those around them, like Brutus and Enoberia. By the time the anthem plays its final strains, All 24 of us stand in one broken line in what must be the first public show of unity among the districts since the dark days. You can see the realization of this as the screens begin to pop into blackness. It's too late, though. In the confusion, they didn't cut us off in time. Everyone has seen. There's disorder on the stage now, too, as the lights go out and we're left to stumble back into the training center. I've lost hold of Chaff, but Peeta guides me into an elevator. Finnick and Johanna try to join us, but a harried peacekeeper blocks their way and we shoot upward alone.
There isn't much time, so tell me, is there anything I have to apologize for?
Nothing. It was a big leap to take without my okay, but I'm just as glad I didn't know, didn't have time to second guess him, to let any guilt over Gale detract from how I really feel about what Peeta did, which is empowered. Somewhere, very far off, is a place called District 12, where my mother and sister and friends will have to deal with the fallout from this night. Just a brief hovercraft ride away is an arena where, tomorrow, Peeta and I and the other tributes will face our own form of punishment. But even if all of us meet terrible ends, something happened on that stage tonight that can't be undone. We victors staged our own uprising, and maybe, just maybe, the capital won't be able to contain this one. We wait for the others to return, but when the elevator opens, only Haymitch appears.
It's madness out there. Everyone's been sent home and they've cancelled the recap of the interviews on television.
Peeta and I hurry to the window and try to make sense of the commotion far below us on the streets.
What are they saying? Are they asking the president to stop the games?
I don't think they know themselves what to ask. The whole situation is unprecedented. Even the idea of opposing the capital's agenda is a source of confusion for the people here. But there's no way Snow would cancel the games. You know that, right?
The others went home?
They were ordered to. I don't know how much luck they're having getting through the mob.
Then we'll never see Effie again. You'll give her our thanks.
More than that. Really make it special. It's Effie, after all. Tell her how appreciative we are and how she was the best escort ever, and tell her we send our love.
For a while, we just stand there in silence, delaying the inevitable. Then Haymitch says it.
I guess this is where we say our goodbyes as well.
Any last words of advice?
Stay alive.
That's almost an old joke with us now. He gives us each a quick embrace, and I can tell it's all he can stand.
Go to bed. You need your rest.
I know I should say a whole bunch of things to Haymitch, but I can't think of anything he doesn't already know, really, and my throat is so tight I doubt anything would come out anyway. So, once again, I let Peeta speak for us both.
You take care, Haymitch.
We cross the room, but in the doorway, Haymitch's voice stops us.
Katniss, when you're in the arena...
What?
Serious? You just remember who the enemy is? That's all? Now go on, get out of here.
We walk down the hallway. Peeta wants to stop by his room to shower off the makeup and meet me in a few minutes, but I won't let him. I'm certain that if a door shuts between us, it will lock and I'll have to spend the night without him. Besides, I have a shower in my room. I refuse to let go of his hand. Do we sleep? I don't know. We spend the night holding each other in some halfway land between dreams and waking, not talking. Both afraid to disturb the other in the hope that we'll be able to store up a few precious minutes of rest.
Senna and Portia arrive with the dawn, and I know Peeta will have to go. Tributes enter the arena alone. He gives me a light kiss.
See you soon.
See you soon. Senna, who will help dress me for the games, accompanies me to the roof. I'm about to mount the ladder to the hovercraft when I remember. I didn't say goodbye to Portia.
I'll tell her.
The electric current freezes me in place on the ladder until the doctor injects the tracker into my left forearm. Now they will always be able to locate me in the arena. The hovercraft takes off, and I look out the windows until they black out. Senna keeps pressing me to eat and, when that fails, to drink. I manage to keep sipping water, thinking of the days of dehydration that almost killed me last year, thinking of how I will need my strength to keep Peeta alive. When we reach the launch room at the arena, I shower. Senna braids my hair down my back and helps me dress over simple undergarments. This year's tribute outfit is a fitted blue jumpsuit made of very sheer material that zippers up the front, a 6-inch wide padded belt covered in shiny purple plastic, a pair of nylon shoes with rubber soles. What do you think?
I don't know. It will offer little in the way of protection from colder water.
Sun?
Possibly, if it's been treated. Oh, I almost forgot this.
He takes my gold Mockingjay pin from his pocket and fixes it to the jumpsuit.
My dress was fantastic last night.
I thought you might like it.
We sit, as we did last year, holding hands until the voice tells me to prepare for the launch. He walks me over to the circular metal plate and zips up the neck of my jumpsuit securely.
Remember, girl on fire, I'm still betting on you.
He kisses my forehead and steps back as the glass cylinder slides down around me.
Thank you. I lift my chin, holding my head high the way he always tells me to, and wait for the plate to rise. But it doesn't, and it still doesn't. I look at Cinna, raising my eyebrows for an explanation. He just gives his head a slight shake, as perplexed as I am. Why are they delaying this? Suddenly, the door behind him bursts open and 3 peacekeepers spring into the room. 2 pin Cinna's arms behind him and cuff him while the third hits him in the temple with such force he's knocked to his knees. But they keep hitting him with metal-studded gloves, opening gashes on his face and body. I'm screaming my head off, banging on the unyielding glass, trying to reach him. The peacekeepers ignore me completely as they drag Cinna's limp body from the room. All that's left are the smears of blood on the floor. Sickened and terrified, I feel the plate begin to rise. I'm still leaning against the glass when the breeze catches my hair, and I force myself to straighten up. Just in time, too, because the glass is retreating and I'm standing free in the arena. Something seems to be wrong with my vision. The ground is too bright and shiny and keeps undulating. I squint down at my feet and see that my metal plate is surrounded by blue waves that lap up over my boots. Slowly, I raise my eyes and take in the water spreading out in every direction. I can only form one clear thought. This is no place for a girl on fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, let the 75th Hunger Games begin.
The voice of Claudius Templesmith, the Hunger Games announcer, hammers my ears. I have less than a minute to get my bearings. Then the gong will sound and the tributes will be free to move off their metal plates. But move where? I can't think straight. The image of Cinna, beaten and bloody, consumes me. Where is he now? What are they doing to him? Torturing him? Killing him? Turning him into an Avox? Obviously, his assault was staged to unhinge me, the same way Darius's presence in my quarters was, and it has unhinged me. All I want to do is collapse on my metal plate, but I can hardly do that after what I just witnessed. I must be strong. I owe it to Cinna, who risked everything by undermining President Snow and turning my bridal silk into mockingjay plumage. And I owe it to the rebels who, emboldened by Cinna's example, might be fighting to bring down the Capitol at this moment. My refusal to play the games on the Capitol's terms is to be my last act of rebellion. So I grit my teeth and will myself to be a player. Where are you? I can still make no sense of my surroundings. Where are you? I demand an answer from myself, and slowly the world comes into focus. Blue water, pink sky, white-hot sun beating down. All right, there's the cornucopia, the shining gold metal horn, about 40 yards away. At first, it appears to be sitting on a circular island, but on closer examination, I see the thin strips of land radiating from the circle like the spokes on a wheel. I think there are 10 to 12, and they seem equidistant from one another. Between the spokes, all is water. Water and a pair of tributes. That's it then? There are 12 spokes, each with 2 tributes balanced on metal plates between them. The other tribute in my watery wedge is Old Wolf from District 8. He's about as far to my right as the land strip on my left. Beyond the water, wherever you look, a narrow beach and then dense greenery. I scan the circle of tributes, looking for Peeta, but he must be blocked from my view by the cornucopia. I catch a handful of water as it washes in and smell it. Then I touch the tip of my wet finger to my tongue. As I suspected, it's salt water, just like the waves Peeta and I encountered on our brief tour of the beach in District 4. But at least it seems clean. There are no boats, no ropes, not even a bit of driftwood to cling to. No, there's only one way to get to the cornucopia. When the gong sounds, I don't even hesitate before I dive to my left. It's a longer distance than I'm used to, and navigating the waves takes a little more skill than swimming across my quiet lake at home. But my body seems oddly light, and I cut through the water effortlessly. Maybe it's the salt. I pull myself, dripping, onto the land strip and sprint down the sandy stretch for the cornucopia. I can see no one else converging from my side, although the gold horn blocks a good portion of my view. I don't let the thought of adversaries slow me down, though. I'm thinking like a career now, and the first thing I want is to get my hands on a weapon. Last year, the supplies were spread out quite a distance around the cornucopia, with the most valuable closest to the horn. But this year, the booty seems to be piled at the 20-foot-high mouth, My eyes instantly home in on a golden bow just in arm's reach, and I yank it free. There's someone behind me. I'm alerted by, I don't know, a soft shift of sand or maybe just a change in the air currents. I pull an arrow from the sheath that's still wedged in the pile and arm my bow as I turn. Finnick, glistening and gorgeous, stands a few yards away, with a trident poised to attack. A net dangles from his other hand. He's smiling a little, but the muscles in his upper body are rigid in anticipation.
You can swim too. Where did you learn that in District 12?
We have a big bathtub.
You must? You like the arena?
Not particularly, but you should. They must have built it especially for you. It seems like it anyway, with all the water, when I bet only a handful of the victors can swim, and there was no pool in the training center. No chance to learn. Either you came in here a swimmer, or you'd better be a really fast learner. Even participation in the initial bloodbath depends on being able to cover 20 yards of water. That gives District 4 an enormous advantage. For a moment, we're frozen, sizing each other up. Our weapons, our skill. Then Finnick suddenly grins.
Lucky thing we're allies, right?
Sensing a trap, I'm about to let my arrow fly, hoping it finds his heart before the trident impales me, when he shifts his hand and something on his wrist catches the sunlight. A solid gold bangle patterned with flames. The same one I remember on Haymitch's wrist the morning I began training. I briefly considered that Finnick could have stolen it to trick me, but somehow I know this isn't the case. Haymitch gave it to him, as a signal to me. An order, really, to trust Finnick. I can hear other footsteps approaching. I must decide at once. Right! Because even though Haymitch is my mentor and trying to keep me alive, this angers me. Why didn't he tell me he'd made this arrangement before? Probably because Peeta and I had ruled out allies. Now Haymitch has chosen one on his own.
Duck.
Finnick commands in such a powerful voice, so different from his usual seductive purr, that I do. His trident goes whizzing over my head, and there's a sickening sound of impact as it finds its target. The man from District 5, the drunk who threw up on the sword-fighting floor, sinks to his knees as Finnick frees the trident from his chest.
Don't trust 1 and 2.
There's no time to question this. I work the sheath of arrows free. Each take one side. He nods, and I dart around the pile, about 4 spokes apart, and Oberia and Gloss are just reaching land. Either they're slow swimmers or they thought the water might be laced with other dangers, which it might well be. Sometimes it's not good to consider too many scenarios. But now that they're on the sand, they'll be here in a matter of seconds.
Anything useful?
I quickly scan the pile on my side and find maces, swords, bows and arrows, tridents, knives, spears, axes, metallic objects I have no name for, and nothing else. Weapons! Nothing but weapons.
Same here. Grab what you want and let's go.
I shoot an arrow at an Oberia, who's gotten in too close for comfort, but she's expecting it and dives back into the water before it can find its mark. Gloss isn't quite as swift, and I sink an arrow into his calf as he plunges into the waves. I sling an extra bow and a second sheath of arrows over my body, slide 2 long knives and an awl into my belt, and meet up with Finnick at the front of the pile.
Do something about that, would you?